one. Pull your pants up. Yeah, we're live.
Do I have to cover my feet?
Never cover your feet from me.
Around you, I keep the pants on, but the socks off.
That's the way I like it, baby. Your feet are never more naked than if they're naked and the rest of your body is fully covered.
Yeah, that's fine, man. I know you're into that thing. You know,
it accentuates
clothes except the feet. You know, it's like taboo, but not
the nakedness of the feet.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to Tentacle Croissant. I am one half of your host, and you can call me the Flip Lord.
And I am the other half, and I am the intergalactic space squid. My purpose here is to hold the dimensional portal open so that time can flow in and we can enjoy it.
You opened it up a little too much because things are accelerating very, very fast, mister.
I did. I should loosen the grip of one of my tentacles. It's creating a hell of a gape.
Yeah, see, the thing is, it was supposed to be just drips. You really, it's supposed to just like
just
drop.
Little.
You were just like all the time now. Give all the time right now. Here's grinning.
You know what it was? I'm a naughty squid, and I was like, evolve. They're not evolving. They're just vacillating. And I was like, all right, motherfuckers, we're going to have some evolution time now, bitches.
All right, bitches, here's the singularity.
Eminentize the eschaton.
Yo.
So I gaped it.
You gaped the time hole.
For humanity. I did it for your benefit because I'm a kind time lord.
Yeah, because things were just really just crawling along, and you're like, this is way too slow. This is not my pace.
Way too slow. It's time to evolve.
Let's jump straight into it, dude. Terence McKenna said that we are heading towards the singularity right now, where there's a technological social apex where everything accelerates beyond belief. And I feel like this moment in time is very representative of that. What do you think?
Yeah, it seems to be right. It seems to be that we're moving upwards. If we're in a symphony, it's hitting that peak, that peak sort of a sound. And I'm very optimistic. I was a bit confused there for a minute. And then I thought, no, this is what needs to be. This is the right way. It's intensifying. Mm-hmm. And we're going through a process. A lot of people who pretend to know Jung talk about integrating the shadow. And actually, we will now be making the unconscious conscious. So all these little bits of unconscious grit, we're digging out and putting them in the light, and we're saying, what do we want with this stuff?
Yeah, and I think it's actually being represented in the most literal sense, in the most physical, tangible sense of the whole race relations thing. Yeah. Something that was predominantly unconscious for a very long time.
Yeah.
And then now, bam, mainstream, like compensated beyond belief, like 100 times %. Here is that thing that we've been suppressing for the last hundreds of years in your face.
Yeah. Did you were you naive at all in your view of the race thing, would you say?
I mean, I think everybody was to a certain degree. I mean, not everybody, but especially some demographics obviously knew this for a very, very long time.
I'm the doomsayer, and I'm pretty shocked at what we're doing. I'm pretty shocked. I'm like, oh, we're gonna do this argument like it's 1922.
Yeah, no, really. Like, I mean, I was definitely conscious of this stuff.
Yeah.
But now that I'm overtly consciously researching and looking even deeper, because I'm not a person that is so heavily involved in terms of the factual, detailed, historical, recorded thing. You know, it's just not something that I naturally attune to, more the conceptual type of person.
Yeah.
But now, purposely looking at the recorded, that specifically in America too, it's like, this is even way worse than I would ever like to imagine.
What they told me on the other side, well, they didn't tell me because this individualized entity you see before me is one of many, and they didn't tell me, but they told one of the arms of the tentacle that there's a cleanup that needs to happen first before we move forward. So we've been given a chance to do a bit of cleaning up. Mm-hmm. And there's no foregone conclusion here, they said. They said they speak into my suckers. They pull the tentacle and they go, listen, and my suckers hear the vibrations.
Ooh.
Let me ASMR. Listen.
So you're saying they vibrated your tentacles?
Yes.
Nice.
And we've got. There's no foregone conclusion here. We can fuck up. There's nobody's holding us. Nobody's like the Intergalactic Space Federation isn't like Earth's a guaranteed win. Earth's not a guaranteed win. It's a maybe. Like, what are you guys gonna do? And if we fuck it up, they'll be like, oh well, and then they'll just leave us and they'll go somewhere else. So we're being given a chance, and it might become a more racially divided society. That's one of our options, and we can try to live the way, if Hitler. Did you ever see The Man in the High Castle? Like the world. It's not great, but it's based on a novel. It's a sci-fi dystopian fantasy of what would have happened had the axis of evil, Japan and Germany, had they won World War II, how they would have divided the earth. And because they both believed in eugenics and they both believed in racial purity, we would absolutely be living in extraordinarily rigid racial categories. So we may end up giving that one a go. That might be the thing that we end up doing. Okay. Or there'll be a different kind of, we need a revolution.
Totally.
I'm not sure what the revolution is. I'm not sure that any George Soros or other billionaire-backed movement really is going to give us the revolution that we're looking for. It needs to be a revolution of consciousness. Sure. Making that concrete is going to be tricky. So you can't like have a political campaign that's like, we're going to evolve consciousness. The last person who tried that was Obama, and that never really happened. I remember the year before Obama was voted in, I was watching him in a hotel in Paris and weeping my liberal tears. Deepak Chopra said, this Obama represents a complete alteration in consciousness. Humanity will never be the same again. That's before he was voted in. And then he got voted in and we all went, oh. Okay. Nothing changed. So we need something new.
Yeah, I think, this goes back to the whole role of the shaman. If you release the time hole as a space squid too quickly, people are not attuned to adjust it to that. And I think that, in a situation like this, we have to begin with starting over and baby steps. It's a toddler learning how to walk again, which is why conversations about race is so awkward. It's fucking uncomfortable and it's so goddamn awkward. People are getting like throwing tantrums on either side because it's so new. We're not used to bringing this situation in casual conversations now.
I had another one of my evil thoughts today.
Uh-oh.
Would you like to hear it?
It depends. I just brought up race, so I don't know if I necessarily want to hear it, but go ahead.
Somebody who looks just like me, but is not me, left the washing machine running. So I'm going to have to go and clean that up. I'm going to mute this mic. You just chat to them for 2 seconds because my washing machine is now making ridiculous noise.
Okay.
Even space squids wash their clothes.
Go for it. I love the fact that Richard is the host of Tentacle Croissant, and every other stream, there has been technical difficulties or washing machines being left running. And I am the one with no power in terms of moderating this live stream or chat, yet I am absolutely responsible for
it. I use a box to hold my microphone.
Get to fixing your machine, sir.
It's done. I blurred the boundaries between myself and my washing machine.
Anyways, baby steps, toddler, race, what?
We got to stop saying racism. Because if you say racism, that means there's race. There's no race. There's no such scientific thing as race. Race is a category for plants. Race only applies to plants. So we have to say superstition. Superstition. It's a superstition. There's loads of these in psychology and sociology. It looks like it might be true. It feels like it might be true. It's probably true. That's a superstition. That's not a fact.
I'm coming in with counter argument. Are you ready?
I'm ready to receive it.
you're going to get in a lot of trouble for saying that, for one thing. Second of all, so
Who?
just wait, you'll see it. So the thing about that is, I think that you are right to a certain degree in terms of technicality of what race is, but with, let's just say, the casual associations and the colloquialisms of the current state of our society and discussion, we have to acknowledge race with the meaning attached before we start making change. If that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I see where the trouble would come from. There's another point that I would make that runs alongside this. When I was talking about materialism creating riots, I didn't mean that people are looting because they love sneakers. But maybe, okay, that's like another point. What I meant was, when we stick with materialism and we remain addicted to a material view of the world, riots are inevitable, because we're gonna remain with capitalism, and capitalism needs crises in order to continue. That's just that's written into the cake. So then I said, I'm not sure that you can be addicted to brands and say you hate racism. And the more I thought about that, the more I was like, that's probably true, because it puts humans as brands. We're different brands of people.
Okay.
But you might really love brands and hate racism. And then I was like, but that's the nature of growing up. You don't get to keep all of your story when you grow. I'm not telling anybody they need to give anything up or change anything. However you want to see the world is how you want to see it. What I'm saying is, at the point that we're at right now, there may be some things that we need to give up, even if they advantage us, even if we get something from them.
I agree, but not right now. You know what I mean? Like, now, I don't believe is the right timing. Like, I'm looking in the chat here. Tamara, I think, basically summarized what I'm trying to get at in a paragraph. She's basically saying it's really nice. It's a really nice thought that there's no race, but the reality is not so nice. We've made the social agreement that human races exist, and we have to work within the construct. So
I'm afraid I brutally disagree, but go on, Pierre.
That's fine. But in terms of where I'm at with this, as well as her, we've already made the collective agreement for the last how many amount of years, and still to this day, that, you know, we're working within the framework of race and ethnicity, and how these things separate us in a lot of ways, and that there are, let's just say, unique subjective experiences that come with that, for sure. I think technically, and maybe even like scientifically too, the idea of the word race itself, in terms of the stuff that lies behind that, could be a particular way. But I think we've already collectively agreed in the general framework of all the collective discussion that it really is a thing. And before we ever get to, you know, what you were saying,
I'm sorry to both of you. That I understand, but like, just because we agree a thing is true and we make it true, it doesn't make it true. It doesn't make it true.
But wait, so, but in order to transcend a narrative such as this, we're not all space quiz that can just open up the portal immediately. You gotta set up a ladder and a staircase, and you have to take.
Here's the ladder, and I need to do a U-turn on something that I said. I've been very, very against psychedelics for a long time, and I actually think that I diminutized the impact of psychedelics. There's only two things I can conclude, because I've been forced to live in my hometown but because of the lockdown for 3 months nonstop. So I'm surrounded. We're talking about race and psychedelics here for a second. I'm surrounded by people who look, talk, act, and sound like me. There is a strangely numbing effect to that. So I'm it's either because I traveled or because of psychedelics. I can't get where everybody's at with this. I can't. Yes. I can't access it. My point was, if you keep talking about something and you keep acting as if it's true, I don't believe you're going to get to a solution. Because if we say we've got to stay within these racial boundaries, which are, I repeat, superstitions, they're not real. It's not real. It's a nightmare pill. We're making it real. I don't think we're going to get any long-term useful solution. And this is what I said about trauma last time. When you are overcoming trauma, you must tell the whole story. It's going to be so painful, but that's the nature of initiation. The whole story has to be told in its truth and swallowed. You swallow it and you digest it, and it'll take years. But then when you've done that, then you can start moving forward.
Okay. So here's the difference between you and I. So you have said and admitted that you were in, let's just say, a collective and within your own framework of where you are mentally or in your understanding of the world. I had to grow up in a world where I was surrounded by ex-neo-Nazis. So I personally would love to, for a good amount of my time, I actually didn't want to acknowledge race affecting my life or even acknowledging that it's such a key component of my own world experience, my own life experience and stuff like that. But being grown in a society or a community which almost obligated me to recognize that, I had to come to the conclusion that I might have differing opinions thinking that race doesn't affect my life, but the collective around me is consistently instilling.
No, I didn't say that concepts of race don't affect anybody's lives. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, but okay, I see what you're saying.
That's not what I'm saying, because people suffer because of the superstition. People have been killed because of the superstition.
Okay, I agree with that.
So it's not to reduce the seriousness that I say it's a superstition. It's to reduce the validity that I say it's a superstition.
Okay.
This is a shit-brained way of looking at reality and at humanity. But I'm aware that if you raw dog the truth and you say to people, listen, we're a unified consciousness and we express and manifest as different entities, but it's an illusion, and they never took psychedelics, they might think you're posturing, like you're trying to be spiritual or poetic and I'm like, no, when you've taken the drug, you know this is a literal reality in your flesh, in your bones. It becomes a literal reality. And I don't say it's like it's any one group that needs to have an awakening. We all go together as one, or we don't move. There's a lot of economic policies that I can see, because I've been thinking about this. I'm like, well, why would you hold people down and fuck them in the ass financially for a long time, which has happened? We both watched the 13th, the prison industrial complex. It's a good way of making money. And then I just thought, where would you make more money? In what scenario? There's two scenarios. And I'm not an economist. Where do you make more money? When everybody wins and everybody's an entrepreneur and everybody's making money and everybody's paying tax and everybody's feeding into the system? Or this weird back end thing where you ghettoize people and then force them into modern slavery, which is what it is. I mean, they've got to deconstruct the private prison industrial complex. There's no doubt. I've heard multiple arguments, about what's going on, but that one, we've all got to agree, that's completely fucking insane. So once you've whittled down to that, I think it's nothing more than egotism. It's just bitterness. Why should I be surrounded by black millionaires who feed me, who feed into my system too? We'll all be wealthy. Nah, fuck them. Black and Hispanic millionaires, fuck them. We'll just be millionaires, and that's not about money anymore. That's about something else, right? Which comes back to this dark superstition. Remember, when I say superstition, I'm big on magic, so I'm also talking about the superstition that had people tortured and burnt to death in the medieval times. Because they would be like, "Oh, you fucking put a curse on my pigs," and then they would like burn them. Yeah, that's all superstitious, shit-brained thinking.
Sure. Okay. So I completely agree with you with that. It's these are manifestations of the suppressed shadow and egotism. Can we agree with that? Right?
Yeah.
This type of division, this type of
Yeah, I
category.
think so. I think so.
Yes. But it manifests in a human level understanding, which is different skin color. But
Yeah.
we both know that there are layers and layers beneath that,
Yeah.
which actually point at suppressed shadow and egotism.
Yeah.
But when you live in a collective that naturally attunes to skin color, it
Yeah.
becomes the, let's just say, the simulated reality that becomes more real than the simulation.
Right.
Right. So, in order, from what my perspective, to deconstruct this type of thing, the way I look at it is kind of like a metaphor of before we disintegrate the boundaries of this division, for example, a gate, we have to acknowledge where the gate is. We have to figure out where the opening is within the gate. And
When I'm talking,
we can
when
get
I'm talking about telling the whole
together.
story, that's it.
Yeah. So, like, we all know that there's stuff beyond the gate. We know that we don't even need the fence at all. But in order to deconstruct the fence, we have to know where it is in our collective understanding. We have to figure out what key goes in which keyhole. We have to figure out where the actual door is within the gate. And then eventually we open it, we walk through one by one, and then we realize, wait a minute, why the fuck is there a fence in the first place? And then from there, hopefully we can get that collective conscious awakening.
There is a faster route.
Psychedelics.
That's what I'm saying, man. You just put it straight in the fucking water. You go, listen.
Well,
we're in crisis. We need an upgrade.
I mean,
everybody, take this now, please.
I mean, Terence McKenna had that thing where he was basically saying, "Fuck, what was the direct quote?" But he was just saying, "Just go for it." Like 10 grams of psilocybin in silent darkness. Like, don't stop. Don't fuck with the microdosing. Just do it. I personally don't want to do that. I don't think a lot of people could tolerate that situation. But
I used to take double dipped acid strawberries in the 90s. I don't recommend it. It's way too intense.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I do agree. What's the shortcut into approaching collective conscious awakening? Psychedelics, sure. We don't have any shamans though. We don't have any guidance in terms of in the Western world and how to deal with that specific form of consciousness.
I'm not okay. So here again, I would say I'm not sure that's true. I wouldn't put shamans too high up on the pedestal. You could be a shaman. You're easily qualified enough for it. The other young gentleman we're having on today, he could qualify for it. You don't need to be, some pure state of beyond consciousness. You just need to be of good intent, have had the experience, and hold the space for people. We don't value our shamans. I can't do it. I'm northern. I have to say shaman. You could say shaman. But UG Rose. We both know people who could be just a little beacon. We don't need to be big beacons.
Sure.
We could be small beacons and just
again,
do our thing.
You and I both, especially you, are surrounded by really smart, interesting, emotionally intelligent people. I've had friends that tell me that, like, I took mushrooms and then I saw like Jay-Z multiplied 3 times and then I laughed so hard and let's do it again. You know what I mean? Some people that take these psychedelics get no information that helps them in any way.
And for them, we have Gulag. I think we can try. We can. I mean, what am I going to do? I'm not going to be able to put fucking acid in the water. I would want to say though that I'm stepping down from like the hard line against psychedelics because I didn't really appreciate where we were at, and what I'm seeing is a lot of unconsciousness, and it is not based along skin color boundaries.
Have you seen Limitless? It's very Hollywood, but there's some elements that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So one key phrase that actually gets glanced over, it's really, really subtle. He says, "It works better if you're smarter." That's psychedelics. It works better if you already have an understanding of the world and yourself.
There's can I do a tiny, this is the worst boast I've ever done. When it gets into a fight on the subway and he remembers YouTube clips of self-defense. They were shot based on my old self-defense channel.
Really?
Yeah, you know, Bradley Cooper he's like, "What self-defense?" And he flashes back to a kung fu movie he saw, and then there's 2 frames of like some English guy with a shaved head. No, it's not me. They reshot it. They reshot it. Some English guy with a shaved head teaching self-defense techniques. Be like, "This is how you headbutt somebody." Yeah. No, no, it definitely works better if you're intelligent. All I would be saying to people would be like, "Hey, try this. Hey, did you notice how your perceptions have shifted? Did you notice how you kind of withdraw back into a state of consciousness where you lose your sense of self, where you lose the sense of the paradigm that you came from?" I'm talking pure idealism. I just, at the moment, I'm talking idealism and philosophy, practical steps for what people should be doing right now. I have no collective answer. I would be interested in helping individuals make more money. I'd just be like, make money, get financially literate, make money. And
that's exactly what my blind spot was. My idealism, my idealistic philosophy of the world omitted money entirely, because I thought that money was construct, whatever. I think a good metaphor to explain the state of the world at the moment. You were a nightclub bouncer, and you have heavy experience with street fights and stuff like that. You know, idealistically, we could just be like, "Here, take this tab and not fight." You know what I mean? Just chill. But you are overly conscious of the paradigm and the interaction and the conflict when it comes to 2 humans that are belligerent and they're fucking each other up for whatever reason. So you have to entertain that narrative in order to diffuse that in that moment in time. You know, and that's kind of where we are right now. There is that collective nightclub brawl happening, especially in America, but a lot of places around the world. So I think in order to diffuse that, we kind of have to collectively figure out the narrative and self-defense, diffuse the fight, entertaining that narrative, and then maybe from there we can entertain each other with a beer and talk about what just happened.
When I'm going to introduce Potent in a second. Just before I do, you said there's a collective nightclub brawl that's going on right now. Is it actually happening the way that it's being reported? Is it happening to the extent that it's being reported? Is it happening with the same dynamics? Or are we being presented with something of a simulated reality with this one?
I think that could even be applied to an actual nightclub brawl. You know, maybe that dude didn't actually sleep with your wife, but you hear something from the bartender and the other person has an idea, and maybe he actually did sleep with your wife, and maybe he just kissed her, or maybe he didn't at all. And that's kind of like that confusing, dissonant narrative being portrayed in the masses right now, and everyone's trying to figure out what the actual answer is.
And sometimes people do just want to fight.
And that's the human narrative that we have to acknowledge. We want to fucking fight. We're confrontational as hell. So in order to maybe transcend that, we kind of have to take that aspect of ourselves and look at it and be like, well, okay, what do we do from here?
That would be, I would say that the compassionate view of this, there's the compassion of the Zen tradition, which is like a hard edge compassion where you say, look, we're violent creatures, we're angry creatures, and don't be mad that you're violent. Don't be mad that you're angry. Don't be angry with yourself for being angry. Don't be ashamed. But how are we directing this? What is the end goal? What do we actually want? What's the manifesto? What are the objectives? How are we going to move forward? Because one of the things that worries me about the paradigm that's playing out now is that it comes with a hope that's an unspoken hope, which is that somebody's going to come along and fix it. And again, I made a controversial statement 10 minutes ago. Fuck it. I'm already in trouble. Nobody's coming. Nobody's coming. If Black America is hoping that white America is going to sort them out, give up hope. It's just not going to happen. I don't think one side is going to come to the other side's rescue and finally say, yes, sorry, you're right. Let us do this for you. I don't think it is a wise. Nobody's really said, well, some people are saying that, right? Some people are somewhat saying it. I just feel like it's there in the air. There's a hope. If we do this, we'll get the attention, we'll get the response that we're looking for, whatever that response may be.
Yeah.
I always prefer things that are well defined. And if you're asking for something, you should openly ask for it. Because as Nietzsche said, hope is the worst of all things. It's the most evil of all things because it prolongs the suffering of man. Sure. That's my big concern with, if we stick with the current narrative and we say it's based on this rigid, one team and another team, I have no hope that it's going to be resolved. None.
Before we bring Potent on, I'll wrap this up. So what I think is that, because I think it's unrealistic to expect all of us to drop a fuck ton of acid and psilocybin and collectively internally wake up, unless you poison the water supply or whatever the hell. But so on an individual level, you have the power to awaken yourself. Definitely. Like, I think everybody here right now, you and me both, we have the potential to introspect and change who we are from the inside out. And if the entire world or community can actually do that, that'd be fantastic. On a collective level, I think that this will happen through the back and forth, the swinging of the tennis ball, and it's going to be like, doof, 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 doof. And then from there, it's part of the bigger picture of having this back and forth sports thing in order for us to collectively raise our consciousness. I don't know how long this is going to last for. I don't think the conflict will resolve itself within the next year or so, or let alone 5 years. But I think we definitely have the potential within our individuality to do it. But on a bigger societal level, it might be that game of table tennis, just it might keep going on forever. Who knows? But that's what I think.
Very well said. Very well said. So, ladies and gentlemen, introduce you today, Potent. I'm going to play 45 seconds of his track, Sick in the Head. He does emo, rap, trap, and I really like this one because it's got a good CPTSD theme to it. So now it's time for me to try and share something with sound. Pierre, how do you think I'm going to do?
Well, as long as it ain't you rapping, man.
Hey! I'm talking about my technical ability to share screens.
Yo, I'm just kidding, man.
To spit bars.
Listen, you went pretty hard on the Zizek thing. So the Zizek rap, you did great, dude. So it's fine.
Thanks. Okie dokie. Right. Can you let me know if you can hear this?
All right.
Is that coming through?
No, you have to mark the tab share audio.
So no sound. Oops.
Yeah, if you click share screen, if you click share screen, go to Chrome tab, and then there's a mark that says share audio.
Got it. Share audio. Chrome tab. We sharing. Boom.
Smells like pizza. Smells so good.
You got that?
I'm sick in the head. I'm sick in the head. I'm sick in the head. Wow, 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 nah. I'm sick in the head. I'm sick in the head. I'm sick in the head. Wow, 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 nah. I'm sick in the head. Sometimes can't get out of bed. Sometimes just switch with the dead. Wow, 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 nah. I'm sick in the head. Got monsters under the bed. To the dock and he up with the meds. Wow, wow, wow.
Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah. I love that track. Thank you very much for joining us today, sir.
Oh, thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure for sure.
Man.
Y'all can hear me, right?
Yes, loud and clear, mate.
Cool.
Loud and clear.
All right. Cool.
Was that song consciously? Were you thinking like PTSD, CPTSD, or?
Shit, man. Yeah, of course. I went through it. It's funny because you're having me on this fucking episode, but I went through it literally. And it wasn't after having some type of psychedelics that I can actually think about these things in that type of way. So there is, I feel like there is some type of force that's keeping you blind to shit, and that psychedelics pops that shit open. But once it pops that shit open, what you think about is endless possibilities. You end up getting into you can get into a state where you can't make no fucking choices because you're sitting there thinking about every fucking thing in the world.
Exactly.
So you hear me talking now, right? I'm talking. I've always been a talker, never a listener, never a listener, never. Psychedelics made me listen. That's one thing. But I've always been curious. What Pierre was saying earlier was about how you could get somebody to take fucking acid or anything and to come back like, oh yeah, I saw Jordan or I saw, dude, the guidance is like everybody's so misled. It's hard for somebody to take it and then understand it.
What was your drug of choice at the time that you first took psychedelics?
See, I didn't even smoke weed till I was 25.
Right.
At all. I drank a little bit. I've always been conscious about what I did, my intake, so I deemed everything as bad. I ended up taking acid the first time. It didn't do nothing for me. It basically showed me dragons and I saw, you know. But after that, it was just a series of events. I was actually with a stripper. The stripper, she was doing some bullshit on me. I ended up having. I got cops coming to the hotel.
Wait a second. Room. Your relationship with the stripper didn't end well.
Oh no! How'd you figure that out?
Curious. That must be psychic. So after the acid, you noticed you were thinking differently.
100%. And honestly, the stripper was the one that was saying, "Hey, listen, you should do acid or whatever, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Nah, hell no. That's what?" And that's the media. You know what I mean? That's what the media pushes onto us. We automatically just deem it obsolete in our options because where is it going to lead us to?
Yeah.
Yo, first of all, that boa is fire, man. Let me borrow that. That shit looks good. You wearing a boa right now? The boa? What is this right here?
What? This is hair.
Oh, that's your hair. I thought you were wearing a boa, dude. That's crazy. That shit looks good.
This is hair.
I thought you were wearing a boa. That's crazy. Okay. I was like, let me borrow your hair, dude. That shit looks awesome.
I've gotten comments in my videos too, like, hey, you look like you have a towel around the back of your.
No, I love it, man. I thought you were wearing like a fur boa, dude.
Give me 6 months, I'll be there. I'll be right next to you with that.
Okay, well, I'm gonna borrow your hair, Potent. So, second of all, when you were saying about how psychedelics made you listen, I think that's the best way to describe what psychedelics do if you're open to it. Like when you trip and you take psychedelics, it humbles you because you go through that ego dissolution. It's like sit your ass down and listen right now. And if you don't sit down, you won't get the information. But if you do sit down, you're just sitting there and you're receiving all this information. And the only way to get that message across and to actually start some sort of change within yourself is if you do open your ears, eyes, third eye, whatever you want to call it.
I've always been curious. So since I was always curious, I was always asking why. That's why I used to get abused, because because I said so did never work for me. 5, 6 years old, why? Tell me a reason. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So in my experience, I understand it. And I've been in plenty of rooms with 5, 6 people at a time. We're all doing something, and everyone blind, everyone not listening to each other. And if you ever gave a positive note, like any kind of positive message in that room, woo, because the person that set up that room usually is, you know what he is.
Yeah.
He's a narc, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Usually you're in that room with them.
You used the term blind several times now. That's interesting. So do you see it as the situation that we're looking at right now? Is that some people literally just can't see the truth of what's going on?
Yeah. You can't see the truth. You don't want to see the truth. That's all it is. Like I've been in I want to say 5 different states with 5 different groups of people, all blind, but we're all doing the same shit. So I'm here traveling from I'm in Illinois now. I'm from Jersey. I've witnessed it in Jersey. I witnessed it in Pennsylvania. I witnessed it in Ohio. I witnessed it in Illinois, Texas. So like these are the places that I've been to, and everywhere I've been to is people that are completely conditioned to their situation. Now, I had to even put myself in a situation where I can't even talk like me. So I had to completely be. So this is a cultural thing, because obviously I'm from the hood. Like, you know how you talk to UG Rose? My family's from the South Bronx. I still have people in the projects down there.
Yeah.
I'm from Jersey. Like, so in that sense, when I'm doing my rock stuff, the reason why I'm even called Rockstar, I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but the reason why I'm even called Rockstar was because I used to listen to rock music as I was going to the studio to record my rap songs back when I was 18.
Right. Right.
So people and everybody in the hip hop culture or in that area would be like, "Oh, rock star."
Yeah, sure.
So I just embodied it. It was like, "Yeah, I'm a rock star then. Fuck it."
Yeah.
That's dope, dude. They were trying to say that Rockstar was a bad thing.
Yeah,
What?
but here's the thing. Media does it too because they take the rappers that will be rock stars. Because I'm coming up, I'm doing music everywhere. There's plenty of people that are similar to me. Those guys don't get heard. They take the rock star thing and they pervert it. They give it to somebody like, remember the song "Party Like a Rock Star"?
Yeah. I think we got some Archontic interference there.
Yeah, you got some technical difficulties, Mr. Potent.
Everybody focus their chi.
He's coming back. I heard a little bit. Coming back. Where'd you go?
Everybody focus your third eye and bring Potent back to us. Use your psychic skills.
Potent is such a rock star. He froze the entire stream, man. It's crazy.
He froze the internet.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll just interject until he comes back. But in terms of psychedelics, you are fairly blind until you take the psychedelic. You start seeing things outside of your general conditioning. But as Potent was saying earlier, you don't want to open your eyes. You don't want to really open your mind to the objective truth because it challenges the ideas that you were conditioned to believe. So the psychedelics does 2 things. One, it opens up your mind, but it also dissolves all of the conditioning that you were in, and it humbles you because of that. It gets rid of all the things you were brought up to learn. So not only is your mind opening in that sense, you are now able to look at things that challenge your worldview and learn to accept it.
That's the like everything you just said is, if that was bottled, that would be the solution to the problems that we face now. The dissolving of conditioning, transcending the illusion, being humbled. This is the other thing with the, this thing of being so attached to a prejudicial, superstitious worldview, because the superstition is the black cat. The black cat is bad. Why? I don't know. We just think it's a fetishization. We take something and imbue it. Well, why are you so certain? Because I'm not humble. Why are you so arrogant and insistent and stubborn? Can't you entertain the possibility that you might be wrong and that you might have been saying this the wrong way? No, I'm right. Oh, okay. And how are you doing? Well, I have heart trouble. I can't get an erection anymore. I'm fucking constipated. My wife hates me and my kids don't want to hang out with me. Anyway, let me tell you how much I hate ethnic group X. And I'm like, can you see that there might be some correlation with your stance to life and people and reality and what's going on? No, they're 2 completely separate things. Okay.
See, so this is the thing, right? The average human being, every human being actually starts off generally like that, where we develop an opinion, a framework of understanding to the whole world, just an opinion. And that's how we view the entire world, purely through subjective opinion. And from then on, you don't have the language or the understanding to look outside of the opinion, where everything you see wraps back around this bubble of opinion. I can look at this this microphone that I'm talking to, and I only understand it through this opinion. After psychedelics, or at least a traumatic awakening, or meditating for 10 years, whatever else, it finally dissolves that framework of opinion. It allows you to entertain ideas outside of your own without taking it personally, because you realize that opinion, it's not exclusive to you. I mean, it is primarily exclusive to you, and you just don't have the general avenues outside of that. It's like taking you're driving on one street and you don't even realize that there are other roads next to you at the moment.
Yeah, you talking there made me realize that maybe an interesting thing to do would be to look at how people group for their associations to what you're talking about. So, hey, we could change our opinions and we could change our perspective on life. To some people, you might be like, hey, that might be cool. I did that a few times before and I got laid more and I made more money and I laughed more and I felt good. And then the other group that's like, no, change bad. Don't do change. Yeah. Change opinion bad. Me kill.
Yeah. I mean, exactly, man. So with that, I mean, I don't want to call it like it's not infantile, it's not naive. I guess it's sort of naive, but let's say the standard understanding that a human is born with, right, is just this one lens. You have an opinion that you see the whole world through. If you hear another person's opinion, it filters back through your own opinion. For most people, you hear an opinion that differs, it's blocked by your goggles, your binoculars. Yeah. If you go through that spiritual awakening, whatever avenue you want to take, it takes the binoculars away, so then you fully absorb the other person's opinion through their pure experience itself. Where most people just get just bombarded through the lens that it's trying to filter through.
Can I only absorb your opinion from your perspective with psychedelics, or can we train people with like empathy meditation and something to?
I mean, meditation will take a long fucking time, but if you want a shortcut, take this piece of paper that was doused in some sort of liquid and we'll see what happens, you know?
In terms of the magical intent part of this, do you see there being any kind of an alchemical shift from where we are at now to where we could be in a better future, a more positive future?
That question goes to you, Mr. Potent.
All right, ask me that one more time. I was making sure I was working.
Any chance that we could set an intention so that things would be from where they are now into something better in the future?
It's hard to say, because for that to happen, you need to break down damn near all government. You need to restructure education. You need to bring
a true revolutionary. It's a true revolutionary in the house.
You have to, though, because they're teaching you the wrong things. They're not even teaching you. Okay, when I went to college for a couple years. I went to school for marketing, right? Because I'm trying to do music. Okay, I want to market myself. Let me figure this out. Okay, so now this is the first time I hear about what a fallacy is. Logic, reasoning.
Yeah.
This is the first time I hear it.
Yeah. Why? Why is that the first fucking time you heard it?
And why I had to push myself in that direction to know about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually agree with you that see, this is the other thing. I'm going to try not to make any more controversial statements in this. I don't think we're going to get to have our cake and eat it. I don't think there's going to be like a cosmetic solution here. We're at the point where it's going to be grassroots, big change. That's the thing where I'm like, if you stay in your lane and I stay in my lane and we try and have this exchange, it's going to suck. I think we already tried, kind of half-heartedly.
Well, we did try it. I mean, this is exactly why all these statues are getting thrown into the river. I mean, that itself is a physical, symbolic gesture of destroying and restructuring the old world into the new. We are already deep into this revolution. It started. I mean, people are burning and, doing all of these things that necessarily you wouldn't initially say it's the best option. But this is part of the process. This is a part of the whole restructuring of society and the world.
Yeah, I hope so. I really, I would love to see that. I'd love to see. See, I'm so fucking cynical. Maybe it's an age thing. I'm like I think I said this to you last time. I'm scared. I'm scared that when I see this, that it's festival mentality. It's basically let's have the same system, but I just want it better. I just don't want to be down here. I don't want to tear down the dominance hierarchy. I want to be up higher, and I want you to lift me up. That scares me. If it's a genuine like urge to revolution, okay, then that would be something that has merit.
Right. I mean, it's one of those things that's like you're coming up, and if you don't know about any of these things, everything that you hear is going to be demonized. Yeah. Like, for instance, another example that comes to mind is Molly.
Yeah.
Molly, MDMA, was made by Sasha Shogun, who worked for Dow or some type of pharmaceutical company, decided I want to he didn't make it per se. It was already made. He resynthesized it. So as he resynthesized it and he presented it to people as E for empathy.
I always
news and the media,
it was empathy.
The E became ecstasy in the media. Now, if you're gonna tell any bad kid or anybody that wants to rebel to do something bad and you promote what's bad, that's what people are going to do, and they're going to do it to the full potential because they're doing it for a negative reason. Now, if you sit there, and I've sat there plenty of times, even with my brother, who, whatever, I'm gonna say it. Me and him got into a fight because I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast, and we ended up getting to a whole altercation. I ended up stabbing him.
Bruh, are you all right?
Right. Now it's all right because my brother's a G. My brother's a G, and he's not gonna snitch and whatever. He took it. We argued. He was drunk. I was listening to a podcast, and I was listening to it in the dark, laying down, depressed. He came in the room drunk. He was also depressed, raging about whatever. Came in and was like, "You still listening to that shit?" And I was like, "Dude, this is a podcast. You don't even know what you're talking about. There's episodes. They do this every so often." So he started making fun of me. It became a big thing, right? But even him, we go back and forth because of the triangulation between my mom. We still talk, and it's always been my observation that when we would say, "Oh, somebody got Molly," blah blah blah, we'll sit there and we'll split it. All right, let's split it. Boom, we'll take it. After taking it, we're sitting around like, "Do you feel it yet? Do you feel it yet?" Boom, it starts hitting. A prolific story in our life just pops up in our head, and we both turn to each other, and we both have resentment for each other. This was built resentment conditioning of like, I don't really like him. I'm dark skinned, I'm short. He's light skinned, he's tall. We don't really like each other. The triangulation from home. We sit around and we'll turn around and we'll go, "Yo, you remember that one time there was this, that, and the third, and and we'll just start either crying or laughing. What I would notice is somebody that isn't ready, like him, he wasn't really ready. He would go, "You want to go to the bar?" "I want to go to the bar." After we just had this long talk, he was trying to run away from it. Yeah. Where I was like, "Give me the punishment." Yeah. I've always been that type of person that self, or you could say self-destructive, whatever, right? CPTSD, right? So I'm like, I'll take the pain. I'm the emo kid. I listen to emo music on the regular. I'll take the pain. I'll listen. I'll sit here and I'll think. That's what I did. But most people, they associate it with, "Oh, now it's time to go party. This is the party jug."
That could be like. I would reframe that for you for use in the future. Is that actually you were being philosophical and you had the courage to embrace the philosophy of nihilism, whereas he just wanted to just get the fucking weirdness out because it made him feel awkward, and being drunk was better again.
Real quick question. Okay. So you and your brother did MDMA together, and you had a long discussion, and you guys kind of like re-explored stuff within your past and had like, you kind of leveled it out a bit? Did that change your overall relationship with him in the long run?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we still talk. I don't talk to my mom. It's been 3 years. I literally don't talk to my mom.
Okay.
But I talk to my brother like every other day. We send each other memes. We talk on Instagram. Now I don't get on the phone with him as much, but we still commentate. And it's because
is there still built up resentment or any negative feelings towards each other, or just maybe a little bit, not as much, or?
I don't have any resentment towards him, and I don't think necessarily he does either. I don't know. Like now I'm speaking for him. I don't know honestly, but the fact that he wants to continue to communicate with me, because I just went no contact completely. I just left because I blew a fuse. Like I don't even want to get into all that because it got even deeper. If I'm telling you about the stabbing, then
I can assume that you have a pronounced fight response.
Oh, yeah, Richard, because my brother used to get bullied when he was 5.
Right.
So he's a white kid. He used to have the mushroom haircut with the fucking punk, jean jacket and shit. And they just thought he was a white kid. So this is conditioning. Black kids came in and bullied him. He told me, my mom told him, you better not get bullied. So when it was time for me to go to school, because we're 5 years apart, you're not going to get bullied. You're going to be in there fighting. So in the courtyard, I was raised like a pit bull. Like, hey, go punch that kid right there. I'll just come up to the park, like listening to music and literally Backstreet Boys in the ear. Backstreet Boys. Like, and then all of a sudden they're like, yo, look who came here. Yo, this guy took my swing. Literally, this is a real story. This guy took my swing. So now I'm beating up this overgrown kid because he took his swing and he was like, no, I'm not giving it back. So now I'm in the midst of that. So that's how I was raised, literally.
Damn, that's fucking wild, man.
I didn't. Sorry, Pierre. Just a little bit of context. I saw your post today because it's new to me about Puerto Rican families, and you're saying your family. It was like everybody's Puerto Rican, but you've got even like white ginger kids in your family, right the way through to dark skin. I didn't know that. I've never been to Puerto Rico.
Right. No, yeah, definitely. There's. You just imagine Columbus went up that way. He went up that way as well. He stopped at that island. He brought Africans there, and there was also natives there.
Right.
And it was a bunch of raping and pillaging. So it's a melting pot. Damn. So I have family members that are completely black. Like they were, as far as skin tone, yeah, they're black as fuck. But that's my cousin. And and I think my unique experience has been on both sides of my family, I have a dark-skinned grandfather and a white grandmother.
Right.
And they're both, one is Catholic and one is Christian, and they lived across the street from each other. They both had 8 kids or so. And they lived across the street from each other, so they went to the same school, so they were like the arch rivalry of family members.
Right. Yeah, nothing like a good bit of Christian rivalry. Sorry, Pierre, I cut you off, mate.
No, it's all good. To tie this back into the whole MDMA experience, so you were saying that they initially synthesized MDMA and the initial nickname was E for empathy?
Yeah. If you look up, there's actually a documentary right now on YouTube called, I want to say it's Dirty Pictures or something like that. If you look at that, it's a whole story of who that guy is and how the pharmaceutical companies treated him.
Okay, I'll check that out, man. That's fascinating. It actually makes a ton more sense because MDMA was the first, let's just say, heavier psychedelic. It's not fully, but heavier thing that I experienced. And the moment I had that MDMA experience, I could say that was my first awakening in my life. The first time my mind and let's just say emotional intelligence really opened up. I had some really, let's just say, iffy social skills growing up. I had a hard time trying to like communicate with people accurately. The moment I took MDMA for the first time at 18 years old, I immediately, my social skills, it was like limitless. I just immediately can feel out people's energies, emotions, what to say, what not to say. And it just became a subconscious action at that point. Obviously, there was still a lot of like stumbling around trying to figure out what's right.
Of course, because we don't have all the answers. But
Right.
let me ask you something. Who's
Yeah.
rapping about Molly right now?
Almost everybody.
No.
No, I've heard Molly.
There's stories. There's old songs, newer songs for the past maybe 3-4 years. Maybe they'll add Molly in there, right? But they'll add they're just adding Xanax. They're doing Percocets.
There was a quick phase for a few years. I was like, Papa Molly, I'm sweating. Yeah. And that type of thing, the hyphy thing that was happening as well. The hyphy movement was huge on MDMA. And then nowadays it is just straight up pharmaceuticals and stuff that kills you practically.
So are you saying then that they're not rapping about Molly because they don't want people taking it and having these kinds of awakenings where they can empathize with other human beings?
100%. When I'm from Jersey City, right? This is on the other side of Manhattan. There's certain parts of town that's super sketchy, right? It's like every other hood. You get robbed. People are coming, acting funny. What you doing on this block? Who you? Right? When Molly came out, we had so many people just riding around on bikes like, yo, I'm Molly'd up. What's going on, man? How you doing, fam?
Hey, Richard, do you know what hyphy is?
I like that.
Oh, yo, let me educate you on what hyphy is, man. So this was a movement in the Bay Area, man. My cousins would grow up on this stuff. I wasn't around at this time, but I was really, really into it just from a distance. Hyphy is shortened for hyper crazy. Is that right? Something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the drug of choice was MDMA and ecstasy, and it's about going dumb, go crazy, and it was super positive actually. The drugs thing, that gets iffy, but I think it was generally one of the more positive hip hop movements in modern times, and everybody was basically coming together to just be silly as fuck with each other. And it was just purely based on fun. There was no shooting allowed. There was none of the fights. It was just everybody comes together and be like, dumb, 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 dumb.
I approve of this movement. This sounds like my kind of thing.
Have you heard the song, Richard? Tell me when to go. Tell me when to go. Tell me when to go. No. Oh, okay, never mind.
Was this whole thing, I presume it has like a dance thing that goes with it and everything, right?
Yeah, Ghost Ride the Whip. Ghost Ride the Whip.
Was this the movement in 2013, 2014 where everybody's wearing skinny jeans?
That was jerking. That was jerking.
Okay. That was different thing.
But yeah, I mean, to basically summarize that, there was a whole hip hop movement based off of this particular substance, and it generally pushed everybody to celebrate a lot more positively within hip hop.
Okay, so here's something that I had pre-planned to ask both of you. So what you've just mentioned, that's not a conspiracy. That happened spontaneously. Movements happen in movement, and they're spontaneous. Memes are spontaneous. Today it's funny, tomorrow it's a fucking dead meme.
Correct.
What do you guys think of the conspiracy theory that hip hop was hijacked to move it in a new direction, to move it with new intent, to bring certain drugs out, certain drugs in, certain cultural values in and out? Do you guys think there's anything to that, or am I loco?
Potent, this is all you, man.
Oh shit! All right. Well, yeah, hip hop is basically the power to move anything you want to sell. Anything you want to sell, because hip hop is super cool. It's super narcissistic. It judges you. If you ain't doing this, you ain't doing this. See, one of the things that I forgot to mention is if I was to do Molly, right, or any kind of psychedelics, I'm not taking a super duper dose with you, guy. I'm not.
No way.
I'm not doing it. You get me? Like this is also entitlement and greed mixed into the drug culture, because when you do something, if you're around a bunch of people, that's all you're doing. I do this much. It's like the food competition. You eat that much food, I'm not competing with you, and that's always been my thing. But I think people should, look into that a little more and be like, okay, well, why do I have to compete? Why am I pressured to do more?
Mm.
And that's what rap culture does in any facet. Now, the people, like what you were saying, was systemically, like they know, they have the data. If we could sit here and write and figure out the data ourselves just on some Google searches, you don't think they have had the data? They have the data. They know what to push. They know, okay, this is getting a little out of hand. Let's fall back on that. So the kids that are in the hood that don't have fathers, that are dealing with tons of abuse, are now, this is the rap that's cool there. Any other rap is shamed upon.
Yeah,
that's right.
You could bring it back to maybe even like Jay-Z and Nas. Jay-Z and Nas had the beef, right? Jay-Z was the super mogul, get the money, the corporation. Nas was the grassroots rapper dude, like from the streets, whatever. The shaming that came out of that resulted into everybody in the hood, or damn near everybody in the hood, did not want you to speak about knowledge, because Jay-Z's like, what, you trying to kick knowledge?
Yeah, there's and even nowadays is like, if you come across a conscious rapper, a lot of the hip hop community will shame and be like, the fuck is you saying? You know what I mean? Like, why are you talking like that type of thing?
That's dark. That's quite scary. So Nas would have been the voice of philosophy, reason, history, educate yourself, educate where you came from, the whole story. He's a whole story guy. So he would agree with me on probably the truth, just to tell the truth. So, 100%. But I like Jay-Z, so I don't like where this is going.
I love Jay-Z. And at the same time, you can see him throwing in, he's playing the game. So if you're playing the game, okay, the people that are putting the money up, are they really listening to the whole song and telling you not to put that in there? Maybe. But 9 out of 10, as long as you have you hit the criteria, you're talking about drugs, you're talking about, this is also part of what you were saying about hope. You're giving people false hope that they can become a drug dealer and not get caught by the system and then become a rapper one day.
You're traumatizing me. I never took it there, but yes, you're right. That's fucking traumatic as fuck.
I think the only two artists that are properly synthesizing, let's say, conscious rap with the mainstream narrative is like J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar. They'll be, if you really start looking at their music, it's super fucking clever. For example, the one that I remember where Kendrick was actually brought through the mainstream was Swimming Pools. It was like, drank, headshot, drank. So initially you listen to it, you think it's a celebration of drinking because you hear drank, but it's actually about alcoholism. Is like amusing my uncle, my dad from drinking and shit like that. So in terms of like, if there is a intentional narrative of pushing drugs and stuff within hip hop culture, what I can say for sure is that hip hop is obviously based on a lot of consumerism. So you'll see a lot of people flexing within, whatever fucking Balenciagas and the ones that look like socks and like Nikes and Air Forces or whatever else. And they have used hip hop to promote materialistic gain, whether it be from brands and stuff like that. Now, I would say like the pharmaceutical drug thing, if they were to infiltrate it, it would be a lot more covert. Like the whole crack baby thing within the 80s. Perhaps if it was intentional, they could maybe sprinkle and introduce these drugs to these neighborhoods, and eventually it becomes a part of the music. I don't know if it would be as straightforward as like, talking to Jay-Z and like, hey, by the way, can you mention Vicodin or something?
100%, 100%.
Why not? Why not just say, listen, Jay, this week, this is what you're talking about. Just make a rap around this. How old is he? He's probably my age. I'd be like, yeah, okay.
That's the thing. Jay-Z wouldn't do that. Jay-Z would not do that.
You don't think if they said rap about Vicodin, he wouldn't do it?
What I think is, maybe Drake, they'll definitely get Drake to say some shit. but
Right.
they wouldn't get Jay to say it because Jay-Z went up the totem pole enough, and he probably, the way I see it is, he realized the error in his ways, but instead of turning around like most people in that authority figure would do, like that they don't do, is turn around and apologize. Hey, I was wrong in the past. Let me try to redo. No, they just try to reintroduce a new idea. And it's already too late, because from you, I know that you telling me about drugs and selling and big pimping. Now I gotta take from you all this other stuff. That's why Jay-Z ended up getting backlash when he started talking about the money phone. There was a big thing where people was doing the money phone thing, holding a big stack of money and putting it into his ear. And Jay-Z said, dude, you guys are talking about money with the money phone. That looks funny. That's not that, we don't talk that type of money over here. That money's funny. We don't talk that over here. He said something along those lines. But it's too late. So they're gonna turn around and be like, you're a hypocrite. You did it already.
Right. I think someone like Jay-Z is already like Illuminati status. You know, him and Beyonce, he's like up on top of the pyramid. And I think if there was an insidious agenda, it would be aimed towards new rappers, because they're still trying to get the bag. You know what I mean? They're still trying to make money. There's a new drug coming around. It's not new at all, actually, but it's now new to hip hop culture, and those are whippets. You know what whippets are?
Yeah, I've done whippets. That was probably one of my first drugs I've done.
So whippets is basically keyboard duster or whipped cream. If you like empty out a whipped cream and you inhale the fumes from it, it's really bad for you, dude. It's fucked up. It like really destroys your brain.
Snorting the chantilly spray. I see.
Yeah, exactly. Those are whippets. I still really follow.
Punch yourself in the throat afterwards.
Yeah, man. No, it's
kind of the way to get high.
I literally watched somebody, Richard. I literally watched somebody take that shit in the front seat. I'm taking, and I'm like, what the fuck's gonna happen to me next? It only lasted for like maybe 2 minutes. The person in the front is banging their head on the fucking steering wheel. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? He's like, oh, this is what I like. What are we doing here?
Yeah, that dude probably likes getting tied up and whipped too, man. But like, so this whippet thing, right? This was called hippie crack as well, but it just got introduced to hip hop culture in the mainstream, and I still follow hip hop quite a bit. And what they're doing now is a lot of these new rappers, they have these like designer whippets. It looks like it's blue and it's matte and it's like this designer item. And they haven't fully promoted it, but on a few live streams, these new rappers like Gunna, for example, he would actually have the whippet in frame. There are a few videos of these guys like doing whippets, man. And that, I think that though, is with the intent of consumerism, because there is a literal object that's made for that reason, that's packaged in a marketable way.
100%.
In terms of the theme of magical intent, what I'm hearing you two tell me, and it's disturbing the fuck out of me. I knew it, but I've never put the thoughts together with the syntax that you guys are, and it's making me think about it in a very different way. It's a deliberate spirituality block. Keep it materialism, hurt each other so you're wounded. Trauma keeps you in the body, it keeps you in the basic world. You know, just focus on fucking, just sex, drugs, maybe some food, and then hurt someone. And then we can keep you in that level of consciousness. So there's no room for spirituality in that. It's a blocker. All of these things become blockers. I know I'm paranoid and I know I take things too far, but that could be, I mean, it is a binding ritual. It absolutely is a binding ritual. I'm not saying that whoever has done that has gone, haha, let's do a binding ritual, but that is how you would do dark magic. That's how you would keep somebody locked and enslaved and zombified, is exactly like that. And you would have evil images on high, the saints or the unsaints of that environment, the gods of that world, who people would obey and look up to. You'd put them on the pedestal and you say, okay, now tell them to punch themselves in the neck and headbutt the dashboard. And everybody go, yeah, headbutt the dashboard is the thing, and start doing it. So when people in the comments said they wanted to hear me rap, that's the name of my first track. It's called Headbutt the Dashboard. Do you know what I'm saying? Am I crazy, or does that, I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that somebody sat there going, "Let's do a dark binding spell." That is how you would do it.
Well,
That's
I
what you
think
would do.
I think there's a lot of weight to that because no matter what musician, let's just say an icon of any sort, whether it be a movie star or a musician plays the role of getting everybody to chant with them. And depending on the intention of what that chant is a form of magic that influences the people.
Mm.
You know, so depending on whatever message you want to send out, this individual who has a higher status on stage, they are in control by sending the energy out and what they want to produce for themselves or the people around them.
Right. Right. There's a tremendous amount of control. I mean, whether you think you're doing magic or not, you are, right? Even when you guys are
Yeah,
writing your
right.
music and you release it, you've both got you've done what the Egyptians would do. You've got your real names, and then you've got your stage names, which is what a pharaoh would do to stop people from putting curses on them. So you only know my stage name. You can't curse me. You can only stage the.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's clever, isn't it? So
Ah.
we call our pharaohs, like if you think of Pharaoh Akhenaton, that's not his real name. We'll never know his real name. Only the top priests knew it. And you know what they did with the top priests? They buried them the fuck alive with him. Because that's how the Egyptians got shit done.
Yeah.
They believed in magic all the way. Me, I do the very, very surface level stuff. They believed all the way. So there's that, and then you have your icons. Both of you have icons in magic. These are sigils.
Yeah.
You have the logos, the sigil, and then when you're actually doing the music, the words, these are the spells. We can spellbind people. We can uplift them. And I like. I mean, both of you have got like dark imagery in the music, and I know you both like quite dark rock music as well. I still think if you do stuff like that, it can still be a positive intent because it's a release. Like you access the unconscious, and it's almost like an effort to integrate the shadow. What do you guys think of that as a shadow integration with dark music?
It's slippery. You know what I mean? It's really, really slippery because even the way that you want to send it a specific intention behind your dark imagery or music, it can actually be misunderstood in a particular way. With my so-called dark imagery, and it's an acknowledgement of the shadow in order for a positive release. But that's a really fine line that you have to walk down, because at what point does that therapeutic release become actually something that digs a deeper hole for you? You know, and that's something you got to really be careful with, for sure.
Yeah. What'd you
Yeah.
say, Poe?
Yeah, it's always going to be a double-edged sword. Yeah. It's always going to be a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
You might hurt some people with it. I always try to keep the intent of trying to just be the person that pulls the fucking curtain back and, hey, look at the show that's going on back here, motherfuckers. You know?
I mean, yeah, no, I agree with you, Pone. And here's the thing, like, if you, for example, if you just look at straight up pop music, there is barely any acknowledgement of any type of dark imagery. Maybe sometimes, you know, maybe the eye thing, I don't know, whatever. But like certain types of pop music that's heavily sanitized actually has way more of a darker energy behind it if it doesn't acknowledge any of the shadow at all. No dark imagery, no dark lyrics, whatever. It binds you in a naive framework because it just completely dismisses a reality that I think a lot of us go through as well.
I like that. So you get more of a creepy feeling from a Disney movie than from like a Nine Inch Nails video.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, like really think about that.
I do.
Sometimes.
I do.
Yeah, sometimes.
You see something that's just so heavily sanitized with no acknowledgement of anything slightly darker, which is our reality, that has more of a darker energy because it almost keeps you in ignorance and a naive, toddlerish, infantile framework.
Yeah.
Actually, and it's not to take it into TV shows, but my girl, she watches a show called Riverdale, right?
Yeah,
it's a big show, super materialistic, super superficial. The story, the underlying story, what's going on, how she explained it to me, because I was, you know, ranting and raving the other day. She's like, that's the same thing that's happening in Riverdale. I'm like, So what is going on? Either somebody's there trying to wake us the fuck up, or somebody's there like, no, that's just fantasy, like everything else. Just cover that up. Look, it's pretty. Look at the people. I don't know. What do you think of that?
The conspiracy theorists say that like they have to tell us what they're doing to us to give us a chance. So like before 9/11, you know, where George Bush came out and he said we could never have foreseen that happen, and it was fucking all over the movies. There was an episode of a spin-off of the X-Files where they literally flew into the, so it was there. And the conspiracy theorists say that's not predictive programming. There's another word for it. Somebody in the comments will tell me. They have to let you know. That's a rule of the Illuminati. We got to give them a chance. And that's our way of justifying enslaving these fucking idiots, because we told them we were enslaving them and we gave them the key and they just fucking tossed it out the window and said, no, I'll stay in this cage. So
it's 100% narcissistic.
Totally narcissistic.
So I know you guys asked me about the psychedelic drug that I taken, right? What I took was called foxymethoxy. You ever heard of that? It's
I've
a
heard
research
of it. I don't know anything
chemical.
about it. Okay.
It was 5-MeO dipped. It's a research chemical. Okay, so it was definitely some fringe shit. Don't take it. Do not take it. Okay? Let's just put it out there. Do not take it.
Did you hold up a truck at gunpoint and just be like, take a sip out the vat? Open the back of this thing. What are you Jersey boys up to? That's what I want to know.
Guess what? I didn't take it in Jersey. I took it in Ohio. I took it in a town that used to have a big steel mill there, right? So now the town is super crummy. It's down to its bare minimum, right? Mm-hmm. And it's so sad over there that they have things like Happy Pizza. And no, I literally mean sad. They have Happy Pizza. The news is trying to, hey, look at the puppies today. Yeah. And the billboards say, hey, if you're going to kill yourself, call this hotline.
Oh, no.
Where in Ohio?
It's called Lorain, Ohio. Lorain County, Ohio. It's like 40 minutes from Cleveland.
Okay. I went to Cincinnati and Hamilton, Ohio. I don't know if it's like a similar vibe, but man, when I went there, dude, I was really sad.
Yeah. Everywhere that's been abandoned that was once a thriving place industrially, Birkenhead in Liverpool has that because the ships left. Like, we just don't have shipping anymore. So I got taken to Detroit and they said, you'll never have seen anything like this before. You're not ready for this. You're not. And they took me to where the factories were, where it's burnt out and it's rough and it's spray painted, but it was originally beautiful little cottages with fences around. And I'm like, no, I know what this is. We have a place like it just down the road where whoever built the factory built a nice place for the people to live there. But once the industry goes, it's like the soul of the place just goes and there's nothing left. Nothing left, man. So you ended up taking it in this super depressing place. What did you say it was called again?
Nickname like foxymethoxy, but it's actually 5-MeO dipped, DIPT.
And is that like a DMT type thing, or?
When you resynthesize DMT, it actually becomes. You can do it two ways. There's an NN-DMT, and then there's also a 5-MeO DMT. So it's basically all the components that pop that open with different effects. So what I got was the music drastically slower and out of tune. So everything was scary. Everything was scary. It was a nightmare. It was a fucking nightmare. But I learned a lot.
Right.
Would anybody else be able to take it and learn a lot? I don't know.
Yeah.
Would anybody else be able to take it and be able to endure the fucking traumatic situation?
Potent. So you've obviously done a lot of substances.
Quite a few. I dabbled.
Do you believe that after all of these experiences, you have learned to gain a bigger self-awareness, and has it bettered your life? A few of these, maybe not all of it, but in general, like, do you think that you are reaching a state in your life where you could say, like, I think I'm in a better place and I have a better understanding of things?
Yeah, completely. Because I know who to trust. I know who to be able to talk to. Like if I thought you guys were any kind of fake or whatever, I'll be like, no, not doing it.
Mm.
Now I can understand. I have critical thinking. I can understand. I can rationalize. I can empathize. I can see the other person's perspective a lot
Yeah.
clearer, and
Mm.
also I could explain it better for some people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas back, I didn't give a fuck. You just didn't give a fuck. You just wanted what you want. You just basically super narcissistic. I was super narcissistic. I wanted what I want. I was gonna do anything to get it. And then here's this thing that gets smacked at me, which is gonna bring us back to what Richard was saying about they gotta tell you, right? So I got smacked with it. And I'm with this complete narcissist at the time. I don't know how he's doing today. I haven't talked to him in a minute. Like really have a good talk with him. But he was a complete narcissist. He had a whole mini cult running around. I was good because I'm sitting there like getting all the fruits of the labor because I'm an artist. And oh, when I come to town, oh, Poet's coming to town, right? So I didn't see behind it, just like any other artist is not seeing behind it when they're on a mainstream level, right? But I took the psychedelic. I got the revelations, and the first thing I said was, "Oh shit," which I never said before that. Crying and looking crazy. This is my fault. This is my fault. And
Your
he just looked at me and said, "You're fucking crazy." But then after that, as I'm talking like a mile a minute because my mind is going, he's like, I'm like, why do I get in this? I just kept getting an idea in my head that it was a visual of an old trap, and the oldest, cheapest trap you could ever have, which is a box with a stick holding it up. I just kept getting that in my head. That's what I was getting. So I'm like, why the fuck am I getting that in my head? So I asked him, I'm just like, I don't know why I'm getting this shit in my head, blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, he just says it blatantly. Oh, it's because he said something of sort. Oh, because I wanted to get close to JJ, so I got close to you, and da 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 da. He just blurted it out in my face, and because I was so blind at the time, I was like, no, I understand that. I understand you wanted to be my friend to get close with the person that I was close to that was also more successful than me. I understand that.
Oh shit!
But then after like a year later, I'm sitting there like, this motherfucker just told me straight in my face what it was. You know, now we're kind of cool, whatever, but I know what it is. If they ever like try to throw up the bat signal, it's always because they need to just dump a bunch of emotions on me or have me help them figure out their problems. So I just stay away, you know?
Yeah.
I've learned to stay away.
So do you fuck with those guys anymore, or anybody that's kind of within the scene, or like where are you at right now? Are you just detaching yourself from that, doing your own thing, you're on your own grind, or like?
Yeah, I detached myself a while ago. Now the last thing with the Sick in the Head EP, I ended up having a lot of problems with with a different person of the same variety. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but because I knew what I knew, I had to step in and do some certain things. You get what I'm saying? So certain people, like, he still got affected. I ended up getting fucked out of shit. We were supposed to do music together. He did everything completely fucked up way to literally trigger and gaslight me. I wasn't allowing it. I'm like, no, I'm keeping my ground. But meanwhile, if you look at all my music, none of it's mixed down correctly. And if I put you to what he did, everything, his shit is all mixed down good. But when it came to my shit, he didn't. He continued to do it. But I was already hip to it. I'm already watching Richard. I'm already pushing Richard to people. I don't care. And Richard's like, don't tell nobody about nothing. I don't care. Hold that. Hold that. Hold that. Because, you know, I know what it is. I know why Richard's saying that is because you're going to get yourself in a world of trouble. You could fuck up your whole shit. But I'm like, let's fight. Let's go for it. That's why I'm scared to talk here. Because I honestly, like, not to feel grandiose, but part of my grandiosity is feeling like I know too much. Seeing it from all the different perspectives. I'm Puerto Rican. My best friends when I grew up were black. My best friends when I was in my 20s were white. Or of the different culture. Completely different culture. Not just like, oh, they're white and they're black, but we all listen to rap together. No, completely different cultures. But guess what? We were all the same. We were all the same.
Yeah, man. I'll hold you up to that because, like, you know, I'm hearing your backstory and where you came up from, and you said you're straight up from the hood and things like that. This is stuff that, like, a lot of people just don't understand. You know, I haven't necessarily been a part of this world. I've just known people that dip in and out of it. But, you know, I think this framework that you're coming from is not often talked about or exposed. And the fact that you are sharing that situation and you've been through that, plus including the diversity and how much you've traveled, that's a really different type of life experience that I think a lot of people just have never been around, man.
Yeah. And to add to it is that I went alone. I didn't go into any other place with other people. I went with the backpack, went by myself. I literally like, okay, well, let's break it down to the bare minimums. What do I need? 4 pairs of pants, 6 shirts, couple packs of underwears and socks. Put that all in a bag and go. Because it just didn't make sense where I was at. And then every time I needed to learn, I was like, I need to leave.
Shit.
There's a book. I'm having a slow day today. I need you guys in the comments to help me. What's the book where the guy ends up talking to an infinitely wise gorilla who is probably a modern manifestation of Thoth, and the gorilla tells him, in society there's leavers and takers. What's the book, folks? Who is that? It's a famous book. So you guys, you're both leavers. You left culture, and this is huge. This is fucking huge. You can have whatever point of view you want, but if you have the same point of view as everybody around you, that was the point I didn't get to before, Pierre, where I'm saying, like, I'm surrounded by people who look like me and sound like me and talk like me. It's fucking weird because the easiest thing is to just go with the flow. It's just to go with the flow. But if you broke away and you give me your point of view and you're a leaver, you left culture, you did your own thing, I'll listen. I'll listen no matter how duty it is, or you want to tell me you fucking hate me. If you left culture and you came to the conclusion that you must hate me, I'll sit and listen to you all day long, because there's real courage in leaving the tribe. See, that's the shaman. The shaman leaves the tribe. All the fucking people who stay in the tribe, they're not taking any risks. There's no courage there. Not really. Not really. Life is hard for everybody, but the real courage is to leave.
The book, according to the comments, is called Jungle Book. I don't know if you've heard of
Ishmael. Fuck you guys.
It's called Ishmael or whatever.
Ishmael. Thank you, folks. Thank you.
Yeah,
Ishmael.
I mean, according to what I've heard out of Poe's story, like, he's been traveling and bouncing between different types of people and just dipping in and out of different cultures and different types of life situations and stuff like that. I've done that as well, but just not to the extreme that Poe has. He's definitely had a way more intense upbringing than I definitely have. But what I can add to that is that I don't think that you can have an accurate worldview of yourself unless you have a frame of reference outside of you, you know?
Right.
100%.
Yeah. The Ishmael is based on Thoth. The Romans and Greeks took Thoth and made him Hermes, or they made them like a crossover. Hermes is the guy who gives us the root of all the modern magical traditions. Hermes is known as a god who transcends boundaries. He protects boundaries, which is why if something is hermetically sealed, it's completely sealed off. But he transcends boundaries. And he's given special license, by the way. He's allowed by the gods. That's why you see him with wings on his helmet or on his feet, because they gave him the ability to fly between heaven and earth and different locations. I think there's a certain type of person who follows in those magical footsteps. Not only can you go in between, when you go to a different culture, you're transcending dimensions. You're transcending cultural dimensions, without a doubt. Even in America, if you go state to state, if you go in a family or a football team, not so much. But you go on your own, that's what I told Pierre when I went to America. I was doing it on my own, 2017. Only cities, only like hotels, but you feel the fucking chi, the energy shifts state by state. A lot, man. A lot.
Yep. You go by
fucking bones.
You go by yourself, and now you don't have that installation. You don't have anybody to protect you. You
Yeah.
know, say if you go with your friend out to, you know, you're going on tour, everybody knows each other, they're from the same town. They
Yeah.
go to another town. The jokes are the same. We got these jokes together. We
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
these type of jokes. We make these type of comics,
Yeah.
comics together. So now we're bringing it other places, and we're not even taking it in. We're looking at it like, oh, we're here from over there, and you guys, oh, you guys still doing this? Oh, you guys really do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you go by yourself, now you're the outsider. Now you either succumb, learn, observe, or you're gonna be shunned.
I genuinely agree with you in a sense that I don't think you can genuinely, authentically travel until you do it alone. If you have your little tribe of 3 or 4 around you and you guys are in the little bubble getting fucked up, let's go to this club. No, man, that is not traveling. Traveling is jumping headfirst into the deep end of the pool, meeting strangers, entertaining the language, the food, all of these things. Man, you cannot get a real travel experience that where your perspective changes unless you're alone to take it all in. It's like what you were saying about tripping, man. You have to sit down and listen. You can't sit down and listen while you have the same echo chamber around you. You know, you got to be there. And that's exactly why they call psychedelic trips because the travel you get or the experience you get from traveling is a trip. It brings you to another dimension and you come back with a different viewpoint.
And it's risky. There has to be risk.
Oh yeah,
Risky and it's traumatic. So you show up in that town, the guy who sold you the bus ticket is shitty with you. You don't know where you're going. You need to get some food. You don't have a fucking clue where to go. It's petty. It's not like anybody's holding you at knife point, but it sucks ass. Your back is sweating. You're uncomfortable, and you feel like a fucking asshole. Excuse me, where do I fucking blah? All of that is part of the discomfort, and you've got to be thrown out of your comfort zone. You've got to be cracked open. And that's why I think what bothers me about spirituality in the West today, the New Age tradition, is it's all so nice. It's so fucking comfy. And it's just for me. It's just for me. It feels really good. It shouldn't be that way. It's gotta suck a little bit.
The way that you're explaining that, Richard, if you took out the details of I went to Berlin or Thailand and you just took out those details and you explained that same experience of what it's like to travel to another country, you couldn't tell if you're describing traveling overseas or anywhere or you took a psychedelic. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You're bumping into the unknown. You're lost as fuck. You're like, oh, you're sweating. You know, you might throw up a few times for food poisoning. And then you're just trying to figure your shit out until eventually you hit the light at the peak of whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what concerns me. I think at the moment is we're hoping we're going to get something for nothing. I did an interview earlier today and really nice guy, Zachariah, and he was asking me about the law of attraction because I'm dead against it. And he was like, what's your problem with it? It's fine. It works. Da, da, da. And I was like, it's a bastardization. In magic, in the Hermetic tradition, you don't get something for nothing because it's a Hermetic law. Energy is not created. It only changes. That's why all magical and religious systems had sacrifice. Where's your fucking sacrifice in the law of attraction, motherfucker? You just sit there and think about it and jerk off and wake up and it's there? What do you think the ancient magicians would tell you? They'd beat the fuck out of you for that.
Yeah. Real quick, though, have you noticed that the law of attraction generally works for pretty and rich people?
Amazing. It's amazing how they're aligned and it just manifested.
It's just really weird that the law of attraction works for people that don't do much when they're really pretty and have a lot of money already.
It's amazing. It's so amazing. So this is what offends me. The social justice side of me is offended by it because I'm like, so you're telling people with nothing who have kids, they don't know how they're going to feed them. They're like, how do I make 6 meals out of a box of cornflakes and some pasta? That if they just dream harder, the universe will provide. Fuck me, man. Are you crazy? This is capitalism. This is what capitalism does, which is, I think Potent's point before, and I know we've spoken about this, is like, the amount of uprooting we're going to have to do to really clean up our act is going to be a lot, man. It's going to be a lot.
Yo, Po. So according to what Richard just said here, in order to clean up this act, it's going to be a lot, right? You have experienced a life experience that involves a lot of violence and a lot of fucking craziness, man. You know, I've never been through anything like that. What did it take for you to learn how to clean it up or whatever? How did you get out of a situation that was just surrounded by violence and things of this nature?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's like I said, I was always curious. I've always been like, when I grew up, like, let's be real, I'm 33, right? So when I grew up, it was Barney, Power Rangers, Mighty Ducks. Like, these are the things, if you look back into like my childhood, everybody was different colors. My best friend was Michael Winsniewski from across the street. I used to call him Mihao because he was Polish, you know? So I used to be like, Mihao! Like, that's me. My family members were all different colors. You get what I'm saying? So I was able to see different things. And when people would tell me certain things, I'm like, that doesn't make sense because I have an example over here that proves otherwise, right? So it was just a transition. It was just basically me doing me. But people need to be taught that in a certain way. I don't know what that would be. I don't know what that would be.
What taught you, though?
What taught me?
Yeah. Intuition?
No. I honestly don't know.
You're
because
levers. You're just going to have to
I don't
accept
know.
that you're both levers.
Yeah, because I honestly don't know. Look, at the end of the day, like, I just thought that this shit didn't make sense. I was also okay. I think I went off on a tangent, but I used to write. I wrote music since I was 8 years old. So I watched culture change. I paid attention to the culture. I watched it change. I can see when the trends are going to change. I'm paying attention to all this shit. It doesn't make sense to me. So people around me, I'm asking them, like, oh, don't you see that this is going to happen? Don't you see that that's going to happen? And they don't see it. So for me, I had to get out of it. It's like, okay, well, this might not be it. This might not be it. I might have to go this way because musically, because I didn't want to rap gangster shit. I did it when I was 17, 18. I didn't want to do that shit. And this is what they're telling me is what it is. Like, oh, this is what's popping right now. You got to either do this or you're not going to make it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So generally, man, you would just attribute that all to just your intuition.
Completely. I can tell you this. My mom told me, like, at 4 years old, I looked at her, which she always reminds me of this shit, and I kind of remember it, I guess. We were sitting in the car, and I'm like, Ma, are you mad? And I'm like 4 years old. You mad?
Yeah, right.
She goes, no, why you think that? I said, because when you're mad, your brows go like this. So
right.
That was just me. Now, me going around and telling everybody and trying to, it did no good for me. It made me sick. It made me sick going around trying to tell people, yo, that doesn't make sense. Shut up.
So, yeah, I mean, you were naturally born just a bit more observant and a bit more intuitive. And it was really frustrating to be around an environment where people naturally just didn't respond to those things.
Correct.
Okay.
And you're a truth teller.
Yeah.
A lot.
Get my ass beat for it. Look, my mom told me, hey, when you go to school, you lie.
Your mother was wise.
You lie. You don't tell them what we do here. You lie. And I just didn't understand it.
Yeah.
So now I don't even know how to lie, right? So I go to school, I lie. Teacher catches me, tells my mom, Lionel doesn't tell the truth all the time. You notice how I said that in that tone? It's because it's still in the back of my fucking head. Because my mom continues to remind me how I just never told the truth all the time. But meanwhile, of course, not all the fucking time, but most of the time I'm telling the truth. You're trying to make me sound like a villain.
It's like
against me.
Secondary gaslighting. You can recruit other people. You can recruit other people. See, even your teachers say that you're a fucking liar.
So I was lying for you, lady. I was lying for you.
Yeah, the double bind. It's the same thing that plays out again and again. A lot of people who I've spoken to over the years who end up following me, there's a lot of creatives, a lot of singers, a lot of people who are truth tellers and just don't feel like they have a place in in this culture. It's not that they don't feel like they have a place in the world, but that this culture is fucked up. And I think some of us are a bit uncomfortable, and then some of us are fucking revolted. We're like, no, this is awful. And everybody else is like, it's not awful. It's okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. This is not okay. What would you say the situation that America is in now? What would you say? Do you think that this is like an authentic response, or do you think that this is massaged, a controlled response or a provoked response?
As opposed, like, referencing what exactly? The protest or the outrage within the people?
There's different levels of conspiracy theory that I've seen online. It goes right the way through to George Floyd was never killed. It was staged, through to, you know, like he was killed, but then these protests were basically peaceful, and then it was all funded. The violent element is funded, right the way through to, nope, he was killed. This is what police do. And the response is what the response is. All of this is authentic. All of this is spontaneous rather than provoked.
Well, I can see that George Floyd was a solid dude. When by solid, I mean he was pretty balanced. Everybody does their bullshit. Let's stop acting like we don't. Right? This is society. We all do our bullshit. So he was doing his bullshit, but you can see videos of him being very warm-hearted, right? When you see Derek's record and knowing the type of person he is, and seeing his face and knowing what a narcissist looks, or a psychopath, the type of facial expressions, the type of deadness in the eyes, knowing that, you can see that there was something going on there. Was it race? No, they worked together, right? So now they work together. You got somebody like me. I look at George Floyd like he's one of us, right? In the sense of he's gonna speak his mind, because there's videos of him telling the streets, yo, you guys are talking about rap and talking about busting your gun and all this other shit. That shit ain't cool. And anybody that's my age, which he was like 40 something at the time, and you think that's cool and you think I'm a sucker, fuck you, because my heart hurt. That was one of the last videos he did. So if you look at that and say, okay, this guy was a solid dude. He was out for good, right? You know? And you look at Derek, who was abusing people that were coming into the club, which is a sign of jealousy, resentment, you know, being controlling, being power hungry.
Petty little prick, yeah.
Correct. So if you see somebody doing that, and the guy is on the inside, he's the bouncer. So he's getting to know the people that constantly come in, because he's in there with them. And this guy's outside, and he's continuing to harass the people that are going inside and outside. The guy that's solid is going to be like, hey, tell the street dudes, yo, stop using guns. It's going to tell the cop, yo, what you doing? Stop acting like that. So what we've seen here is just what I would say narcissist or psychopath, whatever the fuck you want to categorize him, and the anti-narcissist, or what you would say a lever, a shaman, you know, the person that's going to come up and step up and say, hey, wait a minute, no, this don't make any sense. Plus you have a person like George Floyd, who, where did he just come from? He's in Minneapolis, but he was just down in Houston.
Right.
So he was driving the Benz. It wasn't a brand new Benz, but he was driving the Benz. He also knew rapper Bun B, because he did security for him. So he's seen enough to be like, wait a minute, I kind of understand what's going on here. And then you have somebody that's completely indoctrinated into the system. This is how it is. This is what you do. And also probably went in there with the intent to do it, because it didn't look like he has any remorse at all. So now we're talking about race, this, that, and the third, right? But it's all about the brainwashing that they do to the cops. Poor fucking cops. They've been traumatized just like you and I. And you can see it in their face when people are talking shit to them. They're getting antsy. Their hands are jumping. That's the same shit I would do. That's why I don't put myself in that position. I wouldn't go to a protest, but heaven forbid I saw somebody get beat up. I'll probably die that day, because I'm going for it. I know. You know what I mean? So I'd be like, no, just take myself out of the equation, because I'm going to be another sacrifice. Like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. I forgot, but you just reminded me. The whole other side of this story. I was thinking this morning, like what we should talk about, and I was brushing my teeth, and I was like, "Oh, what if the three of us had to become cops in some rough city?" And I was like, "How long before we become not so nice? 6 months, 9 months, 12 months? The three of us, as we are." With all our experiences, including psychedelics, but that's your fucking job. Nobody here is, listen, people in the chat, nobody here is making excuses for anybody.
Not at all.
But you would be hard, and you would, as you just said, you'd end up traumatized. It's not. So there's a lot of problems here. What I agree with you as well, that there's a chance that may have been deliberate, because as I said to Pierre, we're trained when we do handcuff training, and the police get the same training like that nightclub security do. If you put somebody's hands behind their back and cuff it and rest them on their front, you crush the diaphragm. George is a big guy. The heavier you are, the worse it is. You don't hold someone like that for 7 minutes and not know it's fucking dangerous. It's just so. Yeah, it's a tough one, but you just reminded me. I was like, what if we did it for 5 years? What if we did it for 10? Eventually, one of us is going to hurt someone. So with this whole thing, I've tried to say, don't make it too much about that event, because that happens. It's going to happen when people are restraining each other. So many people, so many millions of arrests. It's going to happen. What we need to stay focused on is that the system that supports them watched a video of a guy get murdered and fired them, not arresting any of them without and we've lost that. Everybody's like, it's race. A white guy did it to a black guy. And I'm like, wait, keep it about the one thing. They should have arrested. They saw a murder and didn't arrest the people. Please stay on. We can't stay on that. And this bothers me because I've seen this happen before with multiple narratives, and it's a little switcheroo. It's an American technique. Americans are very good with PR. They did this with Bill Clinton. When Bill Clinton got impeached, they managed to convince the American public that he was being impeached for a blowjob. To this day, there'll be people in the comments who'll say he was impeached for a blowjob. No, he wasn't. He was impeached for lying to Congress, not for having an affair. It's not illegal. It's not an impeachable offense for a president to have an affair. He lied to Congress. So we have this narrative shift, and then the real problem is not focused on anymore. Who saw that video and said, fire those men and not arrest them? We don't know their names. We need their names. That's when you talk about a systemic problem. That's what we should be talking about. Yeah, you've been quiet for a long time, man.
I'm absorbing everything like a sponge, man. This is great.
Can I see you in a cop uniform?
No, I'm probably the least threatening cop that you'd probably see, man. Definitely.
No, man.
But I take your girl.
Oh, arrest your girl. How about that?
He cuffed me, and then he cocked me, Your Honor. He cocked me. He made me watch.
Okay, so I mean, there was a lot to unpack there, especially the last two sentences. But
excited myself.
I try to do a live stream regarding the main focus, which is the overpowering authoritarian state that the U.S. is obviously falling into.
Yeah,
it is 45-50% fascist now. Like it's like getting there, you know what I mean? And obviously I am a huge proponent when it comes to speaking about and acknowledging race and race relations and how those were real things in the founding of America in a lot of ways, man. But also in this very moment, after this George Floyd situation, in broad daylight, we saw an officer paid by the government, paid by the taxes, just overtly murder somebody in broad daylight, and the dude just gets fired, and a few guys, until we protest the streets, then they get charged for stuff. Then you see the rioting and the protesting, which you see a bunch of other cops just mercilessly beating old people, young women, other men.
And if you fire them for beating the old people, the others fucking retire in protest for you applying the law. The cops in America are against the law now.
Yeah, like literally, The officers push over like a 70-year-old dude. The guy hits his head and there's blood falling out of his ears. And then the cops that were on the same team were like, you know what? How dare you fire a friend that pushed the 75-year-old man? We're going to protest and leave the police. You know, there is obviously the biggest problem in our face right now is the abuse of power, the rise of fascism. And you know, I'm trying to introduce this idea, which is really obvious, you would think. And I did a live stream and stuff, but the narrative and the emotional energy is so fresh, and the momentum that's based on the race situation, which I do agree, it does need to be talked about because these social dynamics are real in America. But the initial problem is something that's almost worse. It's a fascist state coming to be, abusing its own people. That's bottom line. That's what it is. And whatever agenda or conspiracy theory or whatever thing that you want to back up this situation with, it almost doesn't matter, because what we see is the state, the government with their fucking fist on every citizen of America right now in every way, whether it's economics, politics, socially, all of those elements, they have the American people under a fucking lasso right now.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, the media definitely just jumped. They jumped to be like race, this, that, and the third. The media did that, and I don't mean social media. The news was really big on that.
Yep.
The news is really big on that, and it worries me because you know what I've sent you about the music industry as far as how they perpetuating a certain narrative to continue to put people in the system, right? As far as like imprisonment, what cops are there to do, the fact that they have a quota to push.
That's crazy. Arrest quotas are a literal insanity. That's insanity to have arrest quotas.
So you protecting and serving is a business now?
Like, yeah, there's a fucking arrest quota, and then they put a bunch of more cops in predominantly minority communities. So who's going to get arrested more?
So imagine again, the three of us are going out every day, and we're in a community, and it doesn't matter if it's white, it doesn't matter if any of our ethnicities, we're fucking cops and we're together. So we have our little tribe, which is us in uniform, and everybody's spitting on us every day. Everybody's attacking us every day. I know I sound like a fucking old hippie, but this thing of otherizing people, we've otherized each other. We're splitting. The divisions, they bother me. And in these divisions, there's a gaping chasm. And out of that abyss, the demons of the apocalypse fly out. Now, that could be a Jungian archetype for our unconscious demons, or it might actually be authentic spiritual warfare. But what I'm saying, if it's authentic spiritual warfare, Satan creates the divisions. Because he couldn't, if there was a Satan, couldn't fight us unified. There's no fucking way. There's no way. If humanity was unified, we're so powerful. We're so incredibly powerful. And this is the thing that concerns me. And it made me laugh. Right 2 weeks before this shit went down, I was like, look at social media. White people, black people, Asian people, all over the world sharing memes about how we're all being fucked in the ass by Bill Gates. Oh no, little slaves. We can't fucking have that. And then it was like, okay, we got to stop this. We have to stop them from doing this, because we were unifying all ethnic groups. We're unifying around an anti-government narrative, around an anti-conspiracy narrative. Their conspiracy against us. There's no fucking way they could have let us do that. There's just no way. Yesterday, mainstream media released a video of a black man who had a heart condition. He was handcuffed. He said, I can't breathe. And it was a white cop who cuffed him, who didn't listen to him. 2 white cops, and he died. The video is a year old. I've never seen it before. It was released yesterday to the mainstream media. Why? And if you're running that news network, and this is a year old, and it wasn't just released, it wasn't just found, but they chose to release it. And I'm like, don't you have a fucking responsibility to maybe just say, let's leave it for a while? You didn't release it when he first died. You didn't put him to the top of the hour when the dude actually fucking died a year ago. You weren't interested then, but you release it now. Don't they have... Am I crazy, or does that indicate some kind of a conspiracy to keep the flames fanned?
Yes,
Yeah.
but as well as that's what the people want to see at this moment too. So by having that clip, there's a heavy monetization aspect behind that. By playing that, you'll have more ratings as well, and that's what people want to see on top of that. So it can be a distractive element, but also the intention lies on whatever the narrative is amongst the people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So it's
That's
both.
true.
Mm.
And right now, it's like there's a Terrence McKenna thing where he's basically saying, you might blame the Illuminati and the government having every aspect of our lives controlled. But the truth is even scarier than that. And that is nobody's in control.
Correct.
You're,
Correct.
you're, you're
Correct.
just doing Heath Ledger's Joker there.
A
So now
mixture.
you
Give
know
him
how
a break. Give him a break.
It's a mixture between the two. So I mean, they would both say that, and that's the thing. I think there are agendas playing out, guaranteed, guaranteed. There are. I'm sure there's straight up agent provocateurs. I'm sure that there's people funding this shit that's just heavily questionable. I'm sure that there's certain agendas being played out on both ends, whether the government or the people. And this is the scary thing, that no one's really in control. It's a mixture of all of these people trying to push certain agendas, people thinking for themselves, and some people following the sheep. Some people are trying to, it's chaos. It's just pure chaos. And right now, it's just a consistent head on battle with ideology and spiritual warfare. And we don't know what's going to go on.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see everybody trying to hedge their bets. That's why you got Bill Gates doing the chip thing, trying to do Bitcoin transfers, whatever the fuck he's doing over there. You got Elon Musk doing his thing, holding the cars, making sure that people, okay, you drive his car, where are you getting the fuel from?
Yeah.
You go to a Tesla to plug that in.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's profiting off of that too, right? So he's trying to control it in that way. Bill Gates trying to control it. Amazon's trying to control it in the way they give out things.
Right, right.
And they all, I think they all think that in like this much, I feel like they think that they're right. I think that they feel like they're doing the good of the earth or the world. What do you think?
Yeah, no. I mean, like the road to hell is paved with good intentions, man. Hitler thought he was doing the right shit too. Hitler had the greatness of the German people in his mind when he did what he did too, you know. And I think people have to justify whatever cause they're doing for the sake of their own greater good, whatever that might be.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think there is misguided action, pure egotism, pure narcissism, and I think there's some dark agendas afoot here as well. I mean, we're on the 10th. If we don't see huge spikes of COVID-19 where the riot areas were, the fuck are we all playing at? And will we riot then over COVID? Probably not. You know, it's a crazy time to be alive. Fascinating time to be alive.
I think this is quite possibly the aliens watching this reality show probably have this bookmarked and they tune in every single day to watch what the humans are up to, man.
If I was the aliens, I'd be like, the narrative is too crazy now. It's just not believable. They're just saying weird shit.
Yeah, me, if I was the alien, I'd probably be like, you guys are still doing that?
Yeah.
Still on that? That was like 4,000 years ago for us.
Yeah. We're on last season Game of Thrones, really sketchy writing. This show used to be a good show and now it kind of sucks.
Yeah, there'd be like, like it started off kind of cool, and then all of a sudden they tried introducing like a pandemic and then a race war, and then like the pandemic wasn't actually the realist, but kind of real, and then this social media thing, and it's like, you know, probably like everyone's
not
like,
believable anymore. I don't like it anymore. It's not believable. Mr. Croissant, should I let people come in and chat to us for a little bit before we wrap this?
Yes, I have to go fairly soon, but
okay. Should we take two people? The three of us will take on two. We'll outnumber them, and then we will call this a day, a night, an eon. It's the eon of Horus, according to Aleister Crowley. Before we worshipped the goddess, and then we went through a phase where we worshipped God, And now in this aeon, we're supposed to realize ourselves. We're supposed to be self-actualizing and consciously choosing our own evolution. Folks, if you want to join, I just posted the link to StreamYard in the comments. We can only take 2 people today, and then we must transcend this dimension.
Tamara says, in 51 years that I've been alive, I have never seen anything like what I have seen now. Never. That's trippy, man. Like, I talked to my mom a few days ago, and she was part of the Vietnam War, and she was like, nope, never seen anything like this.
Laurel, are you ready to come on? I see you putting your headphones on. Are you ready? You're coming on whether you like it or not. Hi there. Laurel, you're on. Laurel? Hi.
Hi. Can you hear us?
Can you hear us okay? Okie dokie. Didn't get much from that lady. Okay. Cindy, you're on. Sorry, I didn't warn you.
Hi. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Sorry.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Okay.
Didn't get much from that lady. Okay. Cindy, you're on. Sorry.
Okay. Hi. Just gosh. Okay.
Right.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Oh, is there lag?
There is. If you could lower the volume, I will turn off
Headphones, because there's a massive echo.
How are you doing?
Oh, is
Wow. Guys, when you come on, make sure you mute YouTube first, and also turn us down. Otherwise, there'll be a lag. Cindy too. Are you good? Did you mute it? You give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Do you see how slick this is?
Yeah, you're getting
Nothing
better.
can go wrong. Nothing, Pierre. Trust me. I'm in control. The
Can
space
you hear
many
me?
tentacles. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay. First thing about the rap thing you guys are talking about, I just want to bump Rhymesayers, that rap label, everything on there. Like, they're super real, and they, like, you know, that materialism, the whole like bullshit with the commercialism and rap, like they've always been like really like against that, and a lot of great rappers on that label, and it's very lyric forward kind of stuff. Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay. So the thing I wanted to talk about is like all the stuff that happened these last few weeks. So I'm from America, and for my personal experience in life, I've had a couple of 911 gentrification issues, some police brutality incidences.
What's a 911 gentrification?
You know, you live in a kind of a poor neighborhood adjacent to a hip neighborhood, and then the white people come in and suddenly behavior that's like normal isn't okay anymore, and they start calling the cops on you and stuff that you've been doing the whole time you've been living there.
What are you trying to say about listen, this is the kind of racism that me and my white brothers find so oppressive.
Okay.
Are you saying you don't like gingerbread latte? That's what I heard.
It's just the thing about all of that is I'll open up stuff that's going on about discussions about all the police brutality. I'll watch Black Lives Matter YouTube and all this other stuff, and I'll see comments like, oh, when police see people of color, they immediately get a reaction. And I'm like, yeah, that's right, I felt that. And then the reply would be like, except not Asians, you know? And then it wouldn't affect me if it was just stuff that was in the atmosphere, but I had a very white, liberal, woke therapist who I don't talk to anymore. I had a lot of very liberal, woke friends who I also don't talk to anymore. Because like my whole life up until a few years ago, I just lived in this, I guess you could call it gaslighting, this world where all this stuff happens to me, but it feels like I'm co-opting somebody's narrative if I talk about my own experiences, right? Like I get this like crushing feeling in my chest and this feeling of like a ceiling coming down on my head constantly.
Yeah. Hey, well,
I'm trying to get out of it, but I'm struggling with the feeling of like, yeah, I don't get to talk about that stuff. And like, you know, like the sense of like both like feeling like you're creepy and skeevy and kind of criminal, and you're inviting people to judge you that way with my behavior. And then also like, I'm also the kind of person who then co-opts somebody's victim narrative to get cookies or whatever. And it's this really odd feeling that it's hard to purge.
Are you saying you find white, woke, liberal racism more suffocating than just
It's
right?
not just that, it's also Asians do this too. Like I'll say something happened to me and they'll like be incredulous, or they'll say like, no, that didn't actually happen to you, or there's some other explanation for
No,
it.
no, no. I mean, I completely understand. I think we kind of come from the same background as your Asian brother. The situation of being Asian in America, the what you call the plight or the experience of it is one of neglect. It's one of being invisible and not being heard in a lot of ways. I got this throughout all my life from all people of color, white people, whatever it is, man. When it comes to our struggles and what our life experiences are being seen as Asian people, oftentimes it's just completely brushed aside and we're not really heard in a lot of ways. I mean, even when it comes to this, the Black Lives Matter thing and things of this nature, I am a heavy supporter of it. I'm going out of my way to donate and post about it and like getting myself educated when it comes to civil rights, segregation, the effects of slavery, redlining. I know all this stuff, but I see comments disregarding my take on the situation, even though I'm considered a person of color as well. I see people within the Black community making fun of Asians, and it's not even a big deal as well. I mean, a lot of what we have to say, whether no matter what side, right, left, up, down, whatever narrative that these other people are trying to push, in our situation, we're generally brushed aside. And that's something that I don't think a lot of people acknowledge. I mean, I think you know what I'm talking about here.
I don't mind being ignored. I just, the part where people tell me it's not true and it's not happening, that's like, was it necessary to go that far, you know?
Yeah, I think that's just another medium, another form of ignoring. It's by saying, let's ignore what you're really feeling, and I'm going to tell you how you really feel or what really matters and what doesn't. And that is a form of gaslighting for sure.
I just wanted to, bring that up out in the open.
Do you mind if I ask? Sorry, Cindy. Do you mind if I ask you what kind of experiences you had? Obviously, if you don't want to.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I had a neighbor across the hall who called the police on me because she thought I was burglarizing my own home. And my superintendent was standing right there saying, this girl lives here, she lives here. And I said, I described the room directly behind that door and how I mail out. And it was like a loft situation, and there was undocumented workers working in the shop underneath, like on the first floor. And I didn't want to risk them like having police presence in that. So I had to like run away from, like, I basically moved because like I didn't want to deal with that.
Who made you feel like that didn't happen?
Well, she was a young mother, blonde, very like upper middle class sounding type of vibe, and she was the only person on my floor that I wasn't on a first name basis with. Also,
well, she was the one who called the cops on you. Who was it who made you feel like this didn't happen? You said there was a lot of experience.
Oh, well, my therapist. Obviously.
Your therapist was like,
yeah.
What did she say? She was like, "Oh, it probably didn't go down like that."
Like, yeah, like it, and like when it happened, I told a lot of people that just happened to me, and then it was just the sound of incredulity in their voice. They're like, "What? Like that couldn't have possibly been true."
Do you mind if I ask you to theorize? What do you think that why would somebody do that? Why would somebody tell you your experience wasn't your experience?
I don't know. That's the most overt one, but the people I was around at the time, when they talked to me, I always got the sense of that model minority narrative happening.
There you go.
Right? There is a lot of, like, they would tell me about the plight of like queer children of color who get kicked out of their houses because they came out to their parents, and like how some of them are DACA and they're scared of getting deported. And like, they'll tell me this, like I'm an outsider who doesn't know. And my roommate from college for my first year got deported, even though she lived here her entire life. She got caught up by ICE when she was crossing state lines. And that's like, just like, I have all these things that I just don't talk about them. And I try to live up to like as normal as possible, because if you're different, a lot of doors shut for you, especially when you're on the come up. And so I realized by not trying to just like be discreet with my experiences, like people speak to me like I'm East Asian, like I'm from a professional white collar background, like I have supportive family, like, not like I'm like, hillbilly like Asian from like Coal Town, and my whole family is a hot mess, and I did not get any good guidance coming up, and it was a struggle to even go to college because of the weird implicit taboo that you get from cultures like that about like, oh, who do you think you are, like.
Right.
But then the person that I'm treated as and spoken as, it's weird because it almost seems like I have to act as that person with that kind of identity so much. Even in my own head, sometimes I've
Totally.
gotten confused.
I can completely relate when it comes to that model minority thing. Sure, it's a positive stereotype, but it's also used as an excuse all the way to dismiss all of your life experiences. Generally, from what I've seen, I don't know about you, but from what I've seen, when I talk to individuals that have the whole Asians do this and they're supposed to do this, I feel heavily dehumanized. Like, I feel like when it comes to speaking about Asian people or talking to Asian people, it's like this frame. You're a model minority. You're supposed to do this. You don't have any problems. You never went through slavery. You never did through this. In fact, you're rich and your family is rich. What do you have to talk about? You got no problems. Bye. I don't want to hear any more of that.
I grew up food insecure and clothing insecure and going to really good schools. So, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
If I can add to that, at the same time, what Pierre's saying, in the institutions, they're telling you that has nothing to do with you, right? But in the hood, they're also looking at you like, this girl's food. This girl is somebody I can take stuff from because she never been through what I've been through. She's just gonna end up getting all the accolades and get all the acknowledgement. So fuck her. So you got both of those at the same time hitting you. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel like it was actually easier with, like, as you say, like more hood places, like lower income, more brown places where, like, once I start being myself, I like, there's a sense that I'm more culturally similar and I get more accepted. But then in the spaces where I work, where I go to school, where I have to survive in, it's always, there's that weird, odd barrier. And I feel it, even though people see me as like, I should be assimilated into their culture. And then it takes years sometimes where the cracks start to show, and then they start to be very uncomfortable with me. Like, yeah.
You didn't ask for psychoanalysis, but can I offer you some anyway?
Okay, yeah.
You're trying to survive living as an avatar of what other people see you as being, rather than as you, and it's enormously frustrating to be negated in that way.
There you go.
Do you have any advice about dealing with it?
Say again.
Do you have any advice to deal with that? To like
leave America? No, I'm joking. I'm not.
Hey, no. Leave America. I'm really happy outside of it.
I might be leaving this
motherfucker. I feel a lot more comfortable now than I've been most of my life.
You mean now with the three of us?
I moved to Oakland, California, and it's like it's gotten a lot better.
Okay, so. There you go.
What are you gonna say, Potent?
I was gonna say I'm trying to figure out how the fuck to get out of here.
Yeah.
As soon as I can, I'm gone. Me and my girl, like, she's like, we'll go wherever you want to go, and I'm like, you sure? Because I'm trying to get out of here. I don't want to deal with this. I don't know what we're gonna do. Like, do I need to start a commune or some shit? Like,
I think that's the answer. The only advice I can give you, Cindy, is because you're not being seen and heard for you, there'll be a hungering for that. So if you can have a community, even if it's a community of 2 or 3, where you are being seen and heard for you, it would at least feed that. But it's horrible to be treated as an avatar of what people think you are, rather than being treated for you. And your experience matters. Everybody's experience counts. It doesn't, like people saying to Pierre, "Fuck you, Pierre, shut your mouth," because I just assume you're wealthy, you got straight A's at school, you never took acid for 3 years of your life just to see if you could pop your brain. That you're just assumed, you're not seeing the person. So if you can be seen and heard somewhere, that would really help, I think. Okay.
Well, thanks for letting me talk, and just thanks for the feedback. Just any kind of like validation for the situation is helpful for me.
Yeah, I mean, none of us are saying that you've not been. We're all saying we see what you're going through.
Before you
We've
go,
been there.
Before you go, I haven't felt exactly what you've been through, but I can definitely relate to a lot of your story, and you're not alone in this for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers.
All right.
Cheers, Cindy.
Pierre, do we have time for one more, or we can?
One more. Let's do one more, and then I gotta go.
Okay. Kalea. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
We're going to have to be fairly brief today because we
It's
have to bounce.
Let Pierre take off. She was such a beautiful human. I was very moved by her.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, you can see my mess in this wide view. So sorry.
So what's up? How you been? What's new? You got a question? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7?
Oh, do you want a question, Pierre? I'm sure I can find one if I want one.
You.
I mean, thank you for the way I've been experiencing all of this as someone is it's kind of like vision, the empathy of moving past. Feels like privilege sits like right here. And if you've taken any of it away, you hear it, and then you have to kind of focus your eyes past it and kind of see. And if you've had people that have invested in you as far as like chipping that away, it's been really helpful. So, and I've thought about it a lot as far as the Asian community and how that affects them as well. Like I just Googled, what is it? Did you just say a phrase I've never heard? Model.
Minority?
Like I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
They're the grade A student in the American family.
Yeah, and the best part is that it invalidates every other minority group by saying, "Oh, the Asians can do it. Why can't the blacks and the Hispanics do it?" And so it affects everybody. It's not just the Asians.
Kalea, I brought you on to ask you a question.
Oh, did you? Okay.
You asked me on the Instagram Live the other day about this thing of the iceberg, overt racism, and underneath it was the covert racism. And you said that you and some white friends went through this soul searching thing to search out where there was.
It wasn't actually. It was a mixed friend.
Oh, mixed friend.
Yeah.
There was soul searching out for covert racism. And I said I didn't think that was a particularly useful thing to do. I think that the priority should be where there's actual violence. What was has anything changed in that scenario? Is any developments in that scenario?
No, the development in my timeline of the story, like how I was engaging with it, I was actually asked to engage by a person of color, just because she's like, I'm tired. She's like, I can't. I'm tired. She's perpetuating this narrative. Can you see it? I'm like, no, I can't. And I said, wait a minute. Yes, I can, because it just takes a second for it to sink in. I'm slow, but I'm getting there as far as understanding the empathy of it all. Like I said, having to focus past your initial reaction. So I kind of, being a Caucasian woman, I have the ability to, that's going to be obviously my first set of eyes. And then I have to let my education hit it afterwards. But I was asked to engage because another friend of mine.
All right.
Yep. Do you have a question?
Pierre and Poe, have you seen this diagram going around Instagram of overt versus covert racism that's under the water?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
You haven't seen that?
I haven't.
There's a whole list of things that people who are not black, particularly white people, are being told to root out, to weed out in themselves as bits of unseen racism. And I actually think it's not a useful exercise. I think this is white woke liberalism taken to its extreme. What do you guys think?
I actually think there's a bit of truth there. I obviously think that a bit of it can go too far. You know what I mean? Like if you raise your left eyebrow when I say the word Asian, I don't consider that a microaggression. You know what I mean?
I mean it as a microaggression.
Is that what it is? Yeah, of course.
You know, there's definitely a limit to that, but I would definitely say yes, there is overt racism and covert racism, and covert it's there. It's definitely there, and it comes out in a lot of ways. But you know, where's the boundary there? Like, what is just like now you're reaching, and what is okay? That is actually a form of it.
What are you saying, Poe?
I mean, we're talking about covert racism. I honestly don't know what the chart was. So if somebody has the chart that could tell me what was on that chart.
The one
Google
I remember is saying
pyramid of racism.
All lives matter was one of the covert racist things. Was there is there any other covert racist examples you can think of?
Yes. It was just a joke talking about colorism. being colorblind, that idea of I don't see color. It's that kind of stuff.
Why is it racist to say I don't see color? Any of you?
Because we see color.
Because we see color.
I'm colorblind. I can only see certain shade, like certain colors, but I still see color.
Okay.
We see color, right? So let's knock it off.
Let's knock the horse shit off.
Let's knock it off. All lives matter is offensive in a sense. If you don't know any better, then you don't know any better. Mm-hmm. Now, if someone addresses it and says, "Hey, okay, we get that all lives matter, but right now we're worried about this because systemic racism," and you decide to say, "No, all lives matter," then yeah, I'm skeptical on you. Mm-hmm. I'm a little skeptical on you just because you are missing the point of what this is, as far as what the situation is. You don't have the information. You might be ignorant. I don't know what it is, but I can't have that discussion with you unless you understand. You could say, okay, yeah, I agree with you. All lives do matter. Now, do you understand why they're saying Black Lives Matter? Now, from there, if you can't agree, now you're trolling. You're trolling.
Like, okay, so yeah. Imagine if it was your birthday, and then instead of me saying, "Happy birthday, Richard," I said, "Happy birthday to everyone."
Yeah.
All birthdays matter. But
your lives matter.
You were also 4 years old and you really cared about birthdays still. You know what I mean? So this kid never got a fucking birthday, never got a cake. Parents didn't love him. And then every time he's like, "What about my birthday?" You say, "You know what? All birthdays matter. Happy birthday to everyone, not you." You know what I mean? Now, to answer your question about you not seeing color, I don't see color is usually something said to make a person feel comfortable by invalidating a person's culture by how they look. So I'm going to feel more comfortable by saying that I don't see color because it makes me more comfortable in terms of interacting with you.
Yeah, I will not disagree, but add to that is that I think it is a program. I think when it was maybe 2013, Black Lives Matter, and I remember feeling, I'm like, what, why? And I don't understand. And even hearing the language of Black Lives Matter, and then like having a knee-jerk reaction to the language being used, which is not necessarily the point. And it was years later when someone said, "This means stop killing us." I go, perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. But I remember it
should be renamed. It's not a decent marketing campaign. Stop killing Black people maybe would have been a better name. Maybe.
And I remember it took me a while to find people, and I was just relentlessly curious to figure out what that was. My little brother's mixed, so it's just, I'm like, I don't understand what that is. And it's the idea of, okay, do I see color? Of course I see color, but I see my family when I see color. That kind of idea. So it's given me a heart for this issue, and this experiential gaps in general. It's just something I care about, even between men and women and different types of experiences. It's something that I really think about and want to know what is going on inside another person's head, and holding space for empathy. But what I wanted to say was that we're programmed. You're told of a certain generation, at least in like the elder millennial kind of. So most of us in our 30s are like, you were told, our parents were hippies and tried to fix it, and like, everybody's the same as you. You don't see color. Everything's the same. But we didn't realize that everybody was going home and not living in the exact same universe and not living on the same planet. And you're like, listen, because Black kids had to be told, you're not like your little white friends. You can't go out and fuck around like your little white friends. So don't, because it meant something different. And I remember the first time I had this conversation, it was like, I didn't know that you were told that. And like, I didn't know that you were told that. So we were given the suggestion in our youth not to see, because they thought it was a color, like literally you're blind to it. So I think that's where it comes from. It actually is a program, like a hypnotic suggestion.
Let me add on to that. So I've been told that color doesn't matter. I've been told that we're all human and race doesn't make a difference. I've been told that, you don't need to see color to interact with people. But by the same people that are telling me that, they were the first to bring up the fact that I was Asian in a negative light. I was interacting with a lot of people who would subconsciously interact with me as if race was the primary factor. And I can bring proof, but I'm not going to bring into that. However, when you're told that, you know, color doesn't matter, race doesn't exist, you should look at everybody as human, and then you get treated as if race was a defining factor of who you are as a person, you start fragmenting. I had to deal with this for a very fucking long time, even with Cindy earlier. Why is her subjective experience the same thing that I went through? You know, she's Asian as well, and we're dismissed for this reason, and there's only one variable that we can point to.
Yeah.
And then you're told that you don't see color, you don't all, you know, all lives matter, we're all the same, but then we're interacted with in a way as if color is actually there. That's gaslighting, and then it really does fragment you and provides you a dissonant worldview.
My goodness, that is abusive. That's awful. I'm sorry that happened, and thank you for sharing that, because I try to shift the lens. You guys were talking about psychedelics and trauma did to me what psychedelics did to a lot of y'all. I remember having moments of like, I am fully dysregulated, saying I want to wake up, and then waking up and red pilling into reality in a very, very real way, which was about 2 years ago. It's been an adventure, but just the idea of empathy, I was thinking about empaths and this idea of empathy, and empathy is a very active thing. You kind of have to shift your view around. What is it like to see the eyes through another human, see through the eyes of another person? I'm great at talking. And
I think we're all collectively doing that right now. And this was a hard wake-up call. And the way that I would explain it is that it's just toddlers trying to figure out how to walk for the first time. You know, we kind of just got fucking hit by a brick, and we're having really awkward conversations about race and consciousness. We're tiptoeing, we're trying to figure out where's the right step. We're not trying to step on each other, but we are. And it's just everybody's infantile and walking and trying to figure out this thing.
It's crazy. This shit cray.
It is cray. Well.
Oh shit, that's cultural appropriation. I mean, this is insane.
You're fine. I'm here. You're fine.
Touch hands on the screen. Yes.
Wait, this way.
So thank you very much. I wanted to follow up and see what your thoughts were on that and everything with that.
It ended with me essentially just, I'm like, listen, because my friend's I'm like, do not engage her anymore, because I've been holding my friend's heart and holding space for her. And she's like, I'm super stressed out. I'm so tired. I can't educate her right now. And I go, do not engage her one more time. It is not your problem. You go take a walk, because that's what you need to do, because your voice is important. She's an incredible, she was going to be a doctor, and now she's an entertainer, and she's brilliant and articulate and educated on all of and her Black experience is very real in her. And I am protective of her sanity, because I'm going to make space and hold space for her where she hasn't had it. But I was like, you don't engage anymore. And I was essentially like, listen, baby, you're talking from privilege. You're virtue signaling. You can't do any of this. And I'm going to educate you on all this, what it is. You can take it or leave it, but you're a big girl and I know your heart. So, and I ended up with she's like, that's a lot to chew on. I go, well, keep chewing, because it's like a freaking multivitamin, and eventually we'll get through this and we'll make an ally out of you yet. We got to, because what was it? She sent a private message and then went on Facebook to say that she sent a private message. I go, baby, that's a provocation. You're calling her out. You can't do that.
Just be careful, because a lot of people can use this narrative to further shame you and insult you to your face and stuff like that. I'm all open for open conversations in a mutual sense when it comes to, discussing these things, but a lot of people can definitely slip a little bit.
You looking out for me, Pierre?
Looking out for everybody.
Appreciate you, brother.
What's going on here? What's going on?
The electricity. Kalea, I'm going to take you out of the chat before you get pregnant.
No!
And I'll speak to you on IG.
Sure.
Bye. Listen, don't blow that smoke too hard. Yeah, because everybody watching this is going to get pregnant through the eyes.
I'm not looking out for you. I'm looking out for everyone.
This man's a beast. He's disgusting, but at least he's pan-racial with his wee-wee.
I have a guest over and I must go, y'all.
Yes, we must all go.
Yep.
Poe, thank you so much, mate.
No doubt, man. Thanks for having me, yo.
Hey, Poe,
Yeah,
that
just
was
keep in touch, Pierre.
Yeah, that was a great conversation. Thanks for coming on, man.
No doubt, man. Yeah, just keep in touch. We can do this again sometime.
Awesome, mate. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Pierre, have a pleasant evening. Sorry I kept him lady from the Ukraine.
No, I gotta eat some pizza right now. I have a semi-lukewarm pizza just waiting for me to munch on right now.
Really sorry about that one. I'll speak to you.
Richard, it was a pleasure, my friend.
Yes. Good night and goodbye, everybody. May God bless you. All of the gods.